After watching the Dave Chappelle special on Netflix, I have thoughts. And at the end of the day, what I think that a lot of you all are missing is that Dave Chappelle, like many black cishet men, absolved themselves of the
Hello, world.
Hello, Dallas.
I'm Alvin.
I'm Charles.
And welcome to Tit for Tat.
This and that.
And today we are going to be trying to tackle these trans versus het women, het men, heterosexual. I'm abbreviated to het throughout our show. We're going to try to tackle this topic of what's going on, with this between the trans women. It seems to be more with trans women and heterosexual women than it does with trans men. But we'll talk a little bit about some of all of it, and then what's the divisiveness and some of the rhetoric, the language and stuff that's coming out of het women's mouths, and some of the stuff, the comments and stuff that they're typing in some of the other shows and stuff that we're seeing, and why they find the word cis, so different little nuances and stuff with with the, I hate to say trans versus women, because trans are, there's some trans are women, and there are also trans are men. So anyway,
I just say transgender.
You just say
that
transgender.
covers everybody. Yeah.
Okay, and you don't put woman on. You don't say trans women or trans men. You just say.
I mean, if I was talking to a crowd and I wanted to specify just women, then I would say trans women. Mm-hmm. If I was trying to specify men, I would say trans men. But in all, there's transgender individuals that were born one gender and at birth and decided to change it. So they all fall under the umbrella of transgender. And then there's so many, and then under transgender will be trans men, trans women, non-binary, gender queer, gender fluid, agender. And then this new one I saw, two-spirit. I was like, what is that? I've never heard that. So it says a term used by some indigenous peoples, I have to say it, to describe individuals who possess qualities of both men and women. I was like, okay, so we're learning every day. They're just adding, to it or whatever. But yeah, they all fall under the transgender. And I thought this was a good topic because right now, with the project 2025, a lot of the rights are being threatened, to take away as far as, all the surgeries that they can have and the hormones and all that kind of stuff. So all that's at jeopardy. And I would like to bring light to that and get people on board to say, hey, please go and vote, because we don't want to, all the progress we made to be taken away, to just go away. Like it's to no avail. And so I really would like us to actually understand what's at stake and get out there and, make a difference, because even though you may not be transgender, they're our brothers and our sisters, and they fall under our umbrella. So let's all help each other.
Right. Hey, Morgan. I was going to say Morgan the Borg, but Morgan the Borg. Hey, Morgan, how you doing? Thanks for joining us today. And people go check out Morgan the Voice channel too. She's got some pretty good content on there. Some of it's, you know, I was looking at quite a bit of her stuff, and I weighed in on a little bit of it. And then she's got some good stuff on there. Some of it's controversial. It might, you know, some of it may offend some people, and some of it may not. You know, some people will relate to it. And I thought some of it was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it says a transsexual is someone who experiences a gender identity that is inconsistent with their assigned sex and desires to permanently transition to the sex or gender with which they identify, usually seeking medical assistance to help them align their body with their identified sex or gender. And I guess that can encompass where, you know, some of them are where they do a little bit of surgery. Some don't do any surgery at all. Some are born where as they grow, you know, they actually, as far as like some, you know, some men, they actually will have a lot of female features, and a lot of female already at a young age, you know, exhibit a lot of female or women, you know, female attributes or mannerisms and stuff, you know, like that. And usually they can get labeled as gay early on, you know, because they are exhibiting female characteristics and mannerisms, and people will say, oh, they're gay,
Right.
and they may not be gay,
Right.
you know, because a lot of trans say that they're not gay, that they're actually heterosexual, you know, and then they prefer like the trans women prefer heterosexual men, and there's also trans men who prefer heterosexual women, and they do not identify as gay at all.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then but society will throw them into that gay bucket or homosexual bucket, you know, queer bucket or whatever, because that's what they know. They don't, not all of them, but they don't seem to you know the fluidity of how gender flows, you know, or whatever. They get stuck on that whole Adam and Eve thing. Man is a man and a woman is a woman. But that's not the, you know, the case with a lot of trans. Now some may, you know, go that way, depending on binary or non-binary, you know, but most trans that are women that I know, I don't know any trans men, but I have seen them, but I don't know any personally. But I did have a personal, a friend that was, you know, mine back in Cincinnati. Her name was Shirako. That was my friend that was trans, and I met her when I was 18. And but they, you know, they go as they say that they're women. They say that they're women, and then they say that they are heterosexual. Now we do have some you know, like T.S. Madison or whatever. She'll say she's a trans woman. She won't identify it and say that I am one, you know, I'm a woman,
Right.
you know, or whatever. Yeah. But she will say I am a trans woman. She won't just come out and say I'm a woman. But there are trans who say I'm not a trans woman, I'm a woman. And there's people who are intersex. You know what I'm saying? So they're born. Some of them are born with where their hormones, you know, chromosomes and stuff were crossed, right? And then they can have those female traits. You know, I'm speaking of the men now who go as trans women, but they can have those female traits and qualities and stuff, you know, like that. But on the outside, they can look like a man, but they can also possess a penis, and they can also possess a vagina, you know, and they can also grow breasts as they start getting older and still possess a penis, you know, and those would be our intersex individuals. And then to me, I would think they would get to choose, you know, exactly. You choose, you might want, or you might be, you know, they might say I'm bi, or they might say I'm pan. You know, they might, you know, they get to classify, you know, who they are or who they want to be, you know, as they grow and what they feel who they are. You know, we don't get to classify that.
And really, with all these transgender people, that seems to be thing about them, they have made the choice to say, this is who I feel. Like, you know, even though I'm in this body, I feel in my heart that I am this. You know, if I, you know, I may look like a male, but I feel in my heart that I'm a female. And so I'm going to transition that way or whatever, because that's what I feel that's, you know, who I am. I feel at the essence of my core, that is who I am. And then same thing with some of the, you know, females that transition to male. They feel like, hey, I don't feel like a girl. I don't feel a female. I really believe that I am a male. And so they transition to the male gender, and you know, that's how they want to be referred to or whatever. So I mean, you know, I think it's not up to us to make that choice for no one. You know, I think we should let people, you know, even though it's taboo, I guess, to some or whatever, I really feel like that's their choice, you know, and we should be able to make room for them to make that choice. And like you say about the intersex person, I wonder what some of the Christians or whatever feel about that, because, you know, most of them feel like, you know, God created us and he's perfect, he doesn't make mistakes. But here's a person that you probably would consider a monster, I guess, or an alien, because they've been born with, you know, both genitalia or whatever. And it's like, I mean, what do you say to this person? Like, you can't blame them for deciding, you know, I want to be the male, I want to be the female or whatever. That's their choice. And they, you know, and they have every right to make that choice. Yeah. So yeah, I wondered, you know, what some of the Christians say about that or whatever. Or what even society, how you know, how they feel. It's kind of, yeah. So situation is really, really touchy. But I feel like, just like the abortion thing, I just feel like a person should be able to say how, you know, they should be able to determine how they want to go through life, because it's their body. I don't think anyone should make the decision on how you should, you know, go day to day or whatever, you know, just day to day, how you want to present yourself. I think that's your choice. I don't think the government should have, and that's why this Project 2025, the government should even have a say in that. Right. You know,
right. Yeah, Project 2025 is a mess. You know, I read about maybe 30 pages of it. I still got some more to go, and then I read all of the, you know, all the 25.
The agenda, something.
Yeah, all the 25 laws and different stuff they want to get passed.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
It's a mess.
But and it's going to affect you know, trans people. It's going to affect everybody.
Yeah.
But they're also trying to roll back some of the you know, some of the laws and things that were passed for trans individuals. You know, they want to roll that back and take, you know, and push, you know, some other, you know, push some other stuff, you know, more religious type things in there to, you know, but we'll get into that maybe another time. You know, I was going to try to do it today, but I don't know if we'll or not do some of it. But it says here that we're having having trouble connecting. It says, please check your internet connection. Y'all out there, are y'all picking up on this? I mean, we see y'all in our stream, but it's saying, you know, I tried to send some, it says it right here. I tried to send something to Morgan, and then it gave me that, and it won't, you know. I mean, but I see everything going. I mean, you're not having any internet trouble, are you?
I don't have that message yet.
Yeah, I didn't do that, but let me see if I can try it again. But Morgan, I was sending you something to see if you wanted to come in to the studio and join us. You know, join us on the stage here if you want to come in. You know, the link is there, or yeah, it came through. Yours came through. Yeah, yours came through. But if you want to come in and join us live, and you know, help us talk about this subject and give us your views and opinions, and you're more than welcome to, and anybody else who wants to come in. So, but yeah, and it says here. As far as it says, intersex traits can include differences in genitalia, hormones, internal anatomy, and or chromosomes. What I was talking about earlier. And it's an umbrella term that we use a lot in the queer community. We use that a lot in the queer community for a term for people born with reproductive or sexual anatomy that doesn't fit their typical definitions of male or female. And we used to call that hermaphrodites, and then that was kind of offensive to people. So, and so now they use the term intersex to encompass, people who can be born with, both sexes,
Hey, Alvin.
Is Alvin in too?
Yeah, he just said.
Hey, Alvin Watkins.
So I guess we're connected.
Yeah, we're connected, but I don't know why it gave me that. It won't even let me delete it, but
Maybe it's just at that moment. Yeah.
So what do you think about, what is, have you looked at any of the stuff that, have you looked at any of the stuff that's been going and flying around on the internet the last few days? I know Miss Netta and a lot of that triggered it, some of it with T.S. Madison, Tasha K, Jess Hilarious, months ago, or whatever, Claudia Jordan. A lot of that has been triggering a lot of debate going back and forth, where it seems like, it's the trans against the women, against what they say bio women, and myself, I don't even actually like the term biological women. I don't like the term natural women, or whatever, because to me, we are all born, with male and feminine, like we talked about last week, with male and feminine, masculine and feminine energies, and also with the intersex and stuff too, if a person can be born with both sexes, you know what I'm saying? Why do people think that a person could not be born with their XY, XX, or whatever crossed, or born with something like that which can possibly throw off their gender, or their sex, throw off their sex. I don't understand why people can't get that. Some people don't even accept intersex stuff. They don't. Some people don't think that people are born with, both parts, or that they're born with their, chromosomes and hormones,
visuals,
crossing and stuff.
They need some visuals.
Yeah, do they need visuals or whatever? A lot of it is just, read. Go investigate, go read, and find some of this stuff out.
Right.
Sometimes instead of just spewing your comments and stuff. And I hear a lot of that, the comments, coming from, the trans can spew their comments and stuff too. And sometimes trans can say stuff where they're just joking, and then het women will take it seriously. And then they'll sometimes go off on a tangent and start thinking that's the way, gay people, trans people, queer people, or whatever really think or believe, just because we're playing around with ourselves, but we'll come out and say something that we know that is over the top or whatever. And then they'll take it as real. And then they'll start going on these tangents and start going off on the trans or the gays and stuff, like that. Well, we're bio women. You're not real. Well, that's kind of, that's kind of an oxymoron to me, because we're all real. We're born. Until we die, we're still real. No matter how you come in the world, no matter how, what you have, what your parts are, or how you identify or whatever, we're still real.
Right.
And if you know anything about biology, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You will know, you would know that we're all biological.
Mm-hmm.
We're all animals.
Right.
We all originated from, basically primate, whatever, different types, different types way back when or whatever, unless you believe in the Adam and Eve theory, or whatever. But we're all biological.
If you can see somebody, they're real. I mean, I'm not invisible. I'm not a ghost, so I'm real. I think a lot of their concerns are a lot of misunderstandings. I think bio women have a lack of understanding and education about transgender and whatever issues transgenders are facing. I think there's a lot of fear or discomfort with just even the gender identity and expression. I think that scares some of the women, like, I'm not comfortable with that, or I've never heard of that. It's all new or whatever. But we learn something every day. Just like when the iPhone came out, you have to learn how to use it or whatever. So just not that transgender people just popped up. They've always been people that thought they were in the wrong body or whatever. It's just now it's becoming more, seen and more visible. So when you see it, learn about it, research about it, find out about it. Don't, and that's why we have so much discrimination and, disagreement and fights or whatever, because no one wants to take the time and just get an understanding. You don't have to agree. You don't have to like it, but get an understanding and show respect. I think also the bio women have an issue with just sharing spaces with transgender women. Like, I don't want to use the same restroom that you use or whatever. I don't want to use the same locker room, and we've seen that how, they're just disgusted with it. But my thing is, if the person is not doing anything vulgar or anything, they're not molesting anybody. They're not whatever. And I know there's always, the other side. There are some that will whatever, but I don't think that's the norm. I think most of them are just trying to live a regular life and be who they feel they are or whatever.
Where do you want them to go to the bathroom?
Exactly.
I mean, where do you, I have traveled just a lot of places all over the world, and they don't seem to worry about that over there. Their bathrooms are unisex, a lot of them. We even have unisex bathrooms here, whatever. Your damn house has a unisex bathroom because you're going to the same bathroom as your son, your husband, your boyfriend, your wife, your friends. So I don't understand when you get out in public, when they get into the women's restrooms, they're not like the men's restrooms because they don't have urinals.
Right.
In the women, as far as the women go, they have stalls. Okay. So if you're going into the stall to use the bathroom, then no one's going to see you. I mean, I guess sometimes they're out there, I guess if they're changing or something, like that. But these are women, they're not identifying as men, or whatever. They're not in there looking at you like I want to rape you or molest you or anything like that. They just want to go pee or they want to change their clothes and they want to get out of there. You go into the men's restroom, we're going in there to pee, and if you got to do the other, you go into the stall, right? And then when trans men come into the men's bathroom, the men don't care. They don't say that. They ain't worried about it, but the women are worried about it. And there are men who rape men too. Just like a man could be in there, hawking over a woman in there. He could be a straight man pretending to be a trans, or whatever. That can happen, but that's far and in between. So to take that and use that as the whole catalyst to say this is what trans people are doing, or they're in here looking at us or whatever. That's not the case. And with the trans men, they come into our bathroom, they use the bathroom, go on about their business. Ain't nobody thinking about it. Half the time, probably most of the time, nobody even know that they're a trans man because you just can't look at. I know people think that they can. They can look at a person and say that that's a trans. That's where some of that misgendering and stuff comes from, like how they do Jess and some of the other ones, because they have masculine energies and features, and so they're gonna say they're a trans. Whatever, and it's not the case. And sometimes there's trans women and men you don't even know until they tell you, or whatever. But I'm gonna read this misgendering and then I'll get to more. It says misgendering, the act of using the incorrect gender when referring to another person. It might involve using incorrect pronouns, using the wrong gendered name, or arguing with a person about their gender. And then so Morg, you say there's a deformity and there's intentionality adding or removing body parts, then attempting to match personality with the new appearance. So why do you say there's a deformity? And before you say, I mean, you can go ahead and let us know what you're talking about. But that's kind of hurtful too. When if a trans person hears that, to say that they're deformed or something because something mixed up in their XY chromosome, XXY chromosome, something mixed up in there, and to say that they're deformed, that's kind of a hurtful, defamatory statement to say. But you're entitled to your opinion. But heterosexual women and men are starting to do it too. But heterosexual women, they change their body parts all the time, and I can tell you that because in surgery we do it every single day. And it's not, and most of them are not trans coming in to have, to have this type of plastic surgery, or to have some women and some men have had breast cancer and they had to have their breasts removed, and we have to put silicone or gel into their breasts, or whatever. There's some men, there's some of them some people have cancer in other body parts and that has to be removed, and we have to put implants and stuff in. So to say that somebody's deformed because they're adding or removing body parts, then that would apply to everybody in the world. Not everybody, but that'll apply to anybody. That applies to people who are getting injections into their lip, or people who want implants, cheek implants, or breast, butt implants, BBL. All of that stuff is adding to you that you didn't normally start off with at birth.
It seems almost like some of the bio women think that femininity only belongs to them. Right. If they do see a trans woman or a trans man or whatever, they feel like
hey kids.
The kids. They feel like they're acting like women. Like it only, like, what is acting like a woman? I guess they're trying to say, the femininity, but femininity doesn't only belong to bio women. Like we said last week, we all have both. We all have some masculine and feminine, attributes or characteristics about ourselves or whatever. So femininity does not only belong to bio women. And I think that's the problem. They have an issue with seeing it on anyone other than themselves. Like, we own this, and you don't. You don't own it. But yeah, I don't know if Morgan, she do have some more comments, so maybe she's answered you or whatever.
Yeah, she did. Let me see what she put in here. She says, and it bothers me, the ones who say they're trans just because they dress like an opposite gender. They make it much harder for those who are genuinely trans, intentionally or not, to feel accepted. That kind of falls into the binary and non-binary aspect of it, wouldn't you say? Just because they dress like the opposite gender. I think those are tomboys. They may not even be trans.
I think if you said it makes it harder, I don't think it makes it. It only makes it harder for someone that's making it harder. Right. If you just let a person be themselves, it shouldn't even have a say on whether your life is affected or not. So I don't get it. They make it much harder for those who are genuinely trans. You're putting that pressure on people, whatever. There's always been people that have dressed outside of the norm, even though there have been trans people. And I don't think trans are not bothered. They're not bothered with cross dressers. I don't consider Miss Netta. I don't consider her transgender. And she will tell you, Yeah, I'm gonna use she because, and I just saw an interview with her, and she said she really don't care what you call her because she's okay with being called Joe because that's her born name. She's okay with y'all calling her Joe Netta. She's okay with y'all calling her Miss Netta. She doesn't care. It's a character to her or whatever. And I don't think trans women are bothered by cross dressers because trans women have already said in their mind, I'm a woman. Whether they put trans in front of it or not, they are women. Cross dressers most likely have not made it an absolute, that I am a woman. No, I'm dressing as a woman. Mm-hmm. And in a minute, I'm going to take this off and be whoever. I'm going to be the man that I was or whatever. So I don't think there's this, this battle between the cross dressers and the trans women or whatever.
Back to this again, people dress the way they want to dress. Right. There's plenty of heterosexual people who there's plenty of heterosexual women who dress masculine, and that's the way they like to dress. And it doesn't make them trans or gay or anything like that. Look at Whoopi Goldberg. She likes wearing masculine clothes, and looking masculine, but she says she's heterosexual. And all trans people don't fit into the bucket where a trans woman has to look like a female. Mm-hmm. They don't have to have all the characteristics and stuff that exhibit what people say is feminine energy or female characteristics. The same thing goes with a trans man. They don't have to exhibit all the man energies or what characteristically looks like a man. It's how they feel inside, the way they feel that they were born, and what's going to make them comfortable, to make them feel whole. Because some of them don't feel whole because they know something is going on inside of them as they're growing up. They was like, something's not right. I don't feel like a boy. And I really don't want to do those, the things that's what they say traditionally boy or wear the traditional stuff. Something is going on in their, in their psyche within their body where, maybe their chromosomes were mixed up or something happened, where they don't feel that. And then they want to wear that, but they don't have to put on a trans woman doesn't have to put on a wig. Mm-hmm. They don't have to put on women clothing, heels, makeup, or anything like that. They can still, walk through this world and they can look like a boy, completely like a boy, but they inside they're a woman, and they say that they're a woman, and they're allowed to be that.
And those type of people, it does draw attention. However, let people be who they're gonna be. I know I've seen T.S. Madison's point. I've seen her speak her truth on this issue. She does have an issue with people that say they're this, but then you have a whole beard and you have it, and I don't know if it makes it harder for them or not. I don't see how it would unless you make it, unless you put the hardness on it or whatever. But I do see where society will put you all in the same boat, put you all in that same box, and then you get the hate or whatever, and it's like, but I'm presenting. If people are going to present how they want to, and we should be able to let them present it. But I do see what T.S. Madison is saying, but at the same time, I hope that she does get to the point where she'll see that. Let them be whatever they're going to be, or let them present how they're going to present, and not. And she probably doesn't make it a big deal, but it's when people come against her because they feel like, see, this is what I'm talking about. See, this is what I'm talking about, and it shouldn't be that way. Just let people, like you say, just because I'm a trans woman doesn't mean I have to have the dress and have the makeup. I can present how I want to present. That's where I feel like the respect comes in, and because I can't tell. Like if a man came in here and he had on a dress and everything, but you still got the beard and you still got whatever, I'm gonna be like, how would you want me, how do you want me to address you? Because right now it's giving me confusion, and I'm that's valid because I don't know because you look like a man with a dress on, but how would you like me? And that's where the pronouns and the respect comes in when a person lets you know this is how. Because to me right now, I don't know what this is, but I do value you as a person. I know that you're real. I know that you have value, and I should respect you. So let me know what your pronouns are. What how do you want to be addressed as, and I'll go with the flow.
Right. So more, she's probably on the T.S. Madison level where she's talking about that. But it says, and I'll get back to it here in a second. It says gender binary is the idea that gender is limited to two distinct categories, such as male or female. And then and more, and it's not. And people out there, it's not just limited to that. It's not even like that in the regular. Out there with the animals, the wild animals. It's in nature, it's not like that. It says relating to a gender identity that does not conform to traditional binary beliefs about gender, which include that all individuals are exclusively male and female, and all individuals you are not. What we present on the outside is not what's going on sometimes on the inside of us. Same thing with gay men and straight men, whatever. We're men, but they can lower us to low and try to put us, some of us on like we're women and we're not, whatever. But same things with trans and stuff, like that. It's how they feel inside and want to present. And then but to get back to more, the problem is the ones who identify as trans when they're not. Well, who are we to say that they're not? We have to go by what they tell us they are, unless it's we find out that somebody's perpetrating a trans, trying to go into the women's restroom to molest or molest women or kids or something like that. Then that's a heterosexual man doing that. That's not a trans. I really haven't heard of any trans doing that except for one that I heard that did it in jail. And that was a trans man who had been a trans man who was in there, or whatever. But that's the only one that I've heard of. But who are we to say that they're not trans just because we don't see them with a wig or a dress on, or we don't see the trans man with men jeans and the shirts and the men's shoes and ties or something like that? But who are we to say that they're not trans?
Right.
That's for them to identify themselves. And then if they say that's who they are, that's who we should, as a nation, we should accept that and not cause any harm from it.
I have some more misunderstandings, and we'll probably touch on them throughout the show. But so far, we talked about the lack of understanding education, the fear or discomfort about gender identity and expression. To me, that says, when they say, "Oh, they're acting like women or whatever," like femininity only belongs to them, and then the concerns about sharing spaces, which we kind of got on that, with the bathrooms and the locker rooms. Hopefully, we really get, because I'm so tired of hearing that the bathroom and locker rooms. I guess because when I go in those spaces, I just go to do what I got to do and I leave. It's not a big deal to me or whatever. I wouldn't even know if I went to the restroom and there was a trans man in there because I'm not looking. I'm not looking all that. I don't care, and as long as he's not causing trouble or whatever. But to continue some of the concerns that bio women have, they also have the fear of competition or unfair advantages in sports or other areas. Like they feel like, and I kind of get it in a way because I know that a male is framed a certain way and a female is framed a certain way. However, I know that people have said that when they start taking the hormones or whatever, their bodies start to, I don't know, like the maleness in them kind of starts to like change or it breaks down, the medicine or whatever they're taking or whatever, it starts to kind of conform them or transform them into more of a woman's body or whatever. I do know that, they say that, our lung capacity is different, all that kind of stuff. So if that is the case, why don't we just make sports? And I know I saw this on a show as well with a transgender, and I think it was what is her name? She always done the runway now or whatever. She was on TS Madison's show or whatever. But she was saying how the maybe one solution to this will be if we only did like a trans teams in sports and Olympics or whatever. But then if you go and research the data, not too many trans people are wanting that. So it's like, is it really such a big deal? Because even if we did that, it probably would only be like a handful of people or whatever. But yeah, so that's one of the concerns about, sports and whatever other areas that bio women may have. They feel like it's just unjust or whatever, because your body makeup is totally different than mine. So of course you're going to excel in some of the things that you're trying to compete against me in or whatever. And I don't know, I think just more research needs to be done on that or whatever, because I don't see why they should be just X'd out or whatever just because of their transition or whatever. So that's one of the things.
Yeah, that's kind of, and it could be kind of true. That's kind of true where the like in the case of men, they could still have some of their physical strength and stuff, like that, because of the testosterone that still might be flowing through their body. But there's plenty of very masculine, strong women that are stronger and can outcompete a man, and then they're heterosexual women, or whatever. And then and some of them play in some men's sports. Yeah. Some straight women do get in there with the men and play. So that's a double, that's hypocrisy to me almost, or whatever, to keep using that as the, as one of the excuses. Yeah, there's that little slight chance, but most trans women are not getting into men's sports. And stuff.
Right.
But sometimes heterosexual people will grasp onto anything to try to prove their point, or to or to be able to throw their whatever
agenda.
Yeah, throw their they say we have an agenda, but sometimes they have an agenda.
Oh yeah.
But Morg, I looked up deformity and I put it up here. It says a deformity is a part of someone's body which is not the normal shape because of injury or illness, or because they were born this way. Facial deformities in babies, synonyms: abnormality, defect, malformation, or disfigurement and stuff. You can't, if you want to, you can try to apply that to trans people to say that that they have a deformity. I don't see it that way. I don't see this definition of deformity as fitting into like the trans, as far as like chromosomes and hormones, becoming mismatched or whatever. I don't. And then to me, that also sounds, even though Moore did say I'm not. She did say I'm not saying they're deformed. She just put up the definition, but she did say I'm not saying the trans are deformed. But anybody out there who would think that trans are deformed, or whatever, because they're trans and what's going on their on the inside, I wouldn't use that. That's another defamatory word to me. That's kind of hateful. And I'm glad she said that she doesn't. She doesn't. Right.
She doesn't think that. And I can see why there is such mental illness there with trans women, because of these opposing views, with them being able to choose, who they really feel that they are on the inside. And first of all, it's already a struggle, because you already, like we said last week, you already, even before you're born, you've already been put in this box, you know, like even with the gender reveals, they've already said, okay, pink is girl, blue is boy, or whatever. You've already been put as a certain sex or whatever. So you got to go through that. Then you got to go through, you know, trying to explain to your family, hey, I don't feel like this is the sex that I am or whatever. Then society, then talking to a doctor, and then deciding whether you want to have the surgery or not. And then just, you know, all the hate that you get. I would have mental illness too. It's like it's just so much coming against me because of my choice. It's like we won't give people choices, and that's the very thing that we fight for. Blacks have fought for their choice to their right to vote and do this and do this. That's all trans people are doing too. But it's such a hypocrisy, and it's because of our own personal beliefs and because of, you know, the societal and cultural norms that have gone out there to say this is how it should be or whatever, or your personal values. Well, those are your beliefs and values, not mine. So let me be, you know, who I feel that I am or whatever. So don't put me in your construct or whatever. You live your life, you let me live my life, because I promise you, the choice of my gender is not affecting you.
Right.
But you know, it's really not affecting you in a lot of, you know, ways or whatever. It's really not. I mean, what?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, and I know, you know, history and you know, history has a play in this, and hey, I don't know, just all the gender-based discrimination period that we've gone through just through history, and now here's another one that we want to put on people, and it's like you didn't like it when it was put on you. You know, there was a time where women couldn't do certain things. You know, these bio women couldn't. You know, you couldn't vote, or you were supposed to just be the housewife, or you couldn't have a job or whatever. But y'all got out of that. Let the transgender people do the same thing. Let them have their rights. Let them be able to, you know, have their voice in society and not try to take that away and call them other or call them aliens or call them monsters or whatever. I mean, we all should have a right to just be and present how we, you know, how we feel we are.
Right.
You know.
And then Morgan says, but there wasn't a line drawn for what's considered a woman. But there wasn't a line drawn for what's considered a woman. Well, they have you know, I mean, they have different definitions of what's considered a woman. But a woman is not, a female is the legal, you know, or the scientific, if you want to go that route, it's the scientific biological term that's used to describe what you want to say is what people want to say is a biological or natural born female. I mean, natural born woman. It's actually female. That's really what people are saying. A woman can be anybody. You know, a woman. You know, you can possess feminine characteristics. You know, or whatever. You can dress like a woman. You can be a trans woman or whatever. There's all type of stuff that can be, as far, you know, like when you were in our live last week and I had put up the feminine and masculine energy, you know, and it described what you know, what feminine energy is, and a lot of women exude that type of energy. Not all of them, but most women do exude that type of feminine energy, and men can exude that type of feminine energy also, just like trans men or men can. A woman can exude masculine energy, you know. And so basically that's what it is. So people have their definition of what they think a woman is, because that's what they use all the time. I'm a woman. But really a woman does not mean that you are necessarily a female. So And then she says, which has made it very easy for predators to throw on a wig and go into a women's restroom. I don't think it's made it easy. It has happened, and you are correct. It has happened. You know, we can't control those predators out there. We can't control the pedophiles and the predators. People who have mental issues like that, or people who have those type of mental issues and struggles and stuff, they're going to go out and do stuff like that. That's not your typical person in the world.
Right.
Most people aren't going to go out and pretend to be a man so they can go in there and rape a woman. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they're out there. Most people aren't going to pretend to be a woman so they can go in there and watch the men in the men's bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
But they're out there. We can't stop that type of behavior as much as we would like to. And in a perfect world, that wouldn't exist, but we're not in a perfect world. So, but that does happen. And but we shouldn't equate that to any man that wants to dress like a woman. You know what I'm saying? Because like we talked about last week too, there are men who dressed up like women. And the term I was looking for last week, where we said cross-dresser, the term is transvestite, which is a cross-dresser.
Mm-hmm.
But anybody can be a cross-dresser. You just put on some different clothing other than what you normally would be, like they characterize as male or female. Or you can put on something that they indigenous people wear, that you don't cross-dress because that's not what you usually wear, or whatever. But but the term was transvestite. And then those men, they like to dress up in women, but they're not trans.
Mm-hmm.
Those are heterosexual straight men. And then they should, I can't tell them where to go, but they shouldn't. I don't think they probably should be in the women's restroom, but I don't think they go in the women's restroom. I don't know, but I don't think they go in the women's restroom, or whatever. But yeah, I don't on that aspect. I just don't know, But you can't keep predators out. There's predators who aren't even trans at all. There's men predators, heterosexual men predators that go into the men restroom and go in there and molest boys, little boys and stuff, like that, or catch them out somewhere, at their schoolyard or whatever. These are heterosexual men molesting boys and girls. There's women who molest girls and stuff too. So we can't just put that all on a trans person, because most trans people are not going to go in and do that type of stuff, and it's a fallacy for people to think that, and then they put this propaganda and they put this shit out in the world, and then people, that's where some of these comments and stuff are coming from, like, you're not real women, you're not bio women, you're a man, these hurtful comments and stuff, and they put this out there in the world, and it just, and it's harmful. And then that's why some that's why some trans people don't want to disclose, because when we're saying this type of rhetoric and putting that type of rhetoric out there, the crazy predators and the crazy people, and some of these men with this hyper masculinity and stuff, then they go and they hear this and see that type of rhetoric, and then they'll go out there and do harm to a trans person or whatever, like they take it like it's their responsibility to rid the world of trans people, right? So I'm going to go out there and harm this person, or where are you, man? Because it says it's 150 here. He must be in California. So let's
that's not California, because it was not 150.
Oh yeah, because they're 2 hours ahead of us, right? So yeah, he must be in another country.
I want to say, first of all, that I don't feel like when we talk about the bio women, I don't feel like all bio women feel this way.
No, I don't either.
But some are, and I'm glad that we have Morgan. Hopefully there's other women that are in here or that will join later. Because I would like to know, because this, to me, this kind of sums up a lot of what I was seeing when I was, researching this or whatever, and why some bio women may feel, some type of way towards trans women or trans men. And one of the things that came up that I thought was really something that needs to be really discussed, and you know, there needs to be some kind of dialogue about it, is some biological women feel that their own experiences and like whatever struggles they've gone through seem to be diminished or erased by the presence of transgender women. And if Morgan, if she's still here, I wonder that, you know, does she feel that way? Or can you give me examples or things you may have heard that why would a biological woman feel that a trans woman would diminish her or erase her own experiences and struggles like that? I think that is the big thing. I think they can't get past that these trans women are almost like erasing us, but the trans women feel like, no, you're trying to erase me.
Right.
So it's like, you know, I feel like no one can erase my, you know, whatever gender they are, no one can erase my experiences and what I've gone through.
My existence.
Right.
Unless you take me out of here.
Exactly. So why is that a thing? But I think that's really where it comes from, especially when I see the Tasha K versus the T.S. Madison and, you know, all the other people that she may be against. I really feel like she thinks that their existence takes them out. Like everything I've gone through, everything I've experienced, you just erased it or whatever, you know, and that goes to the, you know, the period thing, and you know, I have period, you don't have period, so you have no right to call yourself a woman, you know, it like
that's not what makes a woman.
Exactly. So it just, I just would like to know, like, why would you feel that way? It almost seems like you need therapy. Like the bio women need therapy if they feel like a gender erases them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's something else going on inside of them that they have to, you know, that's an issue or whatever.
Yeah.
Unless it affects your life somehow. I don't know how it affects your life. I mean, unless it's your child or something, you know, like that. I don't know how all the trans women and men running around affects your life, because you don't even know 99. You probably don't know any,
Right.
You know, personally, or you don't even know sometimes that you're actually looking at a trans woman or a trans man, and they're interacting with you all the time, and unless they disclose it, sometimes you don't even know. So I don't know why that would affect how that affects your humanity and your life. But you know, I'm sure they're going to come in and tell us
like they're a threat. Like
they're not a threat to you.
And I saw that has been debunked by the National Center for Transgender Equality. It's been debunked by GLAAD, and it's been debunked by the Human Rights Campaign, that transgender women are not a threat to biological women.
Right. And then and more, you know, we're not taking you as you know, this is good discussion, you know, and this is helping us talk about this. So don't worry about whatever. We're not taking you as being offensive. You know, you got questions, and then actually there's a lot of women and men out there who have the same questions that you do, and some of them, you know, post stuff. I actually watched your videos and stuff, so I know where you're coming from, you know, and stuff. And some of it's a little off, you know, some of it is just, you know, education, and then some of it is, you know, you're coming from a genuine, what I think. Now I don't know, because I don't know you, but you know, it seems like you're coming from a genuine space when I watched your stuff. But it says the deformity is being born with both, and then there's intentionally getting the surgery later in life. And then all of them don't get surgery. All trans people don't get some of them don't get anything done. Some of them, like I said, some of them are naturally, some men are naturally feminine, you know, or whatever, and they exude those naturally feminine characteristics and traits and stuff. And then they don't even have to get any type of surgery. They don't have to get injections or have a rib taken out, or, you know, have their whatever this is, I can't think of it. Their Adam's apple, you know, removed or whatever. Some people are just that, you know, and some of them don't want surgery, and you can be trans and still not want any type of surgery or anything done to you at all. You know, it's what's going on the inside of you that you feel that way. And then also, all intersex people don't get surgery. They don't all get the surgery that matches what their inside is. Some of them are bisexual, or some of them are, non-binary, or whatever. And some of them say, I don't want the surgery, even though I feel like I'm a woman inside, I'm intersex, I feel like I'm a woman inside, but I have both, just say I have both parts. I'm growing breasts and I have a penis, but I like them both. That's T.S. Madison. She's trans though, but she likes both. She doesn't have to go get the SRS surgery, to feel complete or comfortable with herself. She's comfortable with how she is, like she said, cozy. I'm comfortable in my skin, and some trans women and men may like to go get the SRS surgery or whatever, but they don't have the funds to do it. Some of them, and some of them just don't want to get it. They're comfortable the way that they are, and it's up to the individual to decide if they want to get get enhancements, whether it's injections or implants, or get them a vagina made, or get their penis taken off, or whatever, or get their penis inverted so they can get it, get it a vagina or whatever. That's up to the individual. So you don't have to get any type of surgery at all, in the beginning or later. Now some do, and then there's some that don't.
And I think it's I don't know, it's commendable, I guess, for the parents of intersex people to allow them to, I guess, at a later time make that decision for themselves, because they probably could have at their birth said, cut this off, or they could have made that decision for them. I don't know. I think it's you could have that choice as a parent, if it's kind of just like our circumcisions or whatever. Our parents, or some of our parents that made the choice. I'm glad my parents made the choice to go ahead and snip that off or whatever, and some didn't. They kept the foreskin on or whatever. But I think it's commendable for the parents of an intersex person to keep them as they are, and accept them as they are. And then if they decide, I want to go this way or that way, even though the operation is probably, like you say, is expensive or whatever, I still commend a parent for ultimately letting the child make that decision on their own.
See that? Leighton, we're doing our show. You don't have to listen. That's not what we're talking about. You don't have to listen. That's my son. Yeah, he got in our conversation a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks ago. If you don't want to listen, don't listen. Nobody's forcing you going out the door like you just did. So anyway, and so we, and Morgan, I'm not saying that I know you're just trying to understand, just like some people are out there, stuff. But there, some of the statements and stuff that some people do make, just like they do, and sometimes gay people or trans people can make derogatory statements and incorrect and offensive statements towards heterosexual people. We all can be offensive and derogatory at times. Sometimes even if we're not meaning to come across that way. But like some of the statements and stuff, like we're talking about now, derogatory, offensive statements that trans women and men, just like gay people too, queers and stuff, like some of the stuff that that gets thrown at us or written about us or put in chats and comments, like manly features, women, het women. Het women and het men too, but you hear a lot out of het women doing that. They like to say that oh, well, they're not a woman. They have manly features and stuff. Or look at their big hands. They got manly hands. Well, that ain't a woman. I can tell by their feet. Well, I know plenty of heterosexual straight women who have big feet and big hands. And
they get it from their dad, or they get it from their mother.
Right. And then or and I know I know trans are using the word, and I think they're, I'm not for sure, but a lot of them are using it, like saying bio women now, or whatever, where, trans used to just say, they would just say, I'm a woman,
I think the bio woman thing came because they didn't like the word cis. They didn't like to be called cis women. Don't call me that or whatever. So
so they're calling themselves biological women, but it comes across as offensive, because you're still putting down the trans person to saying like you're not real. It's like you're saying I'm real. You're not, or it's like you're putting yourself up on a pencil, like I'm better than you because I was born with female parts, or something. I was born this way and you were not. So you can never be this, which they do say that you can never be a woman. You can never be something. And actually some trans women, exude more femininity than some heterosexual women do, and some of them, a lot of them, I'll take it. I ain't gonna say some, but a lot of them can look better than, they can be even prettier, or whatever. And if they've had surgery, some of them haven't had surgery, but if they've had surgery and stuff or whatever, they can be even more curvier and prettier than a lot of heterosexual women.
Right.
Same thing for some trans men. I've seen some of them where they look better than a lot of, heterosexual, straight or gay men. I've seen some of them where you couldn't even tell. You thought it was a just a het man or something, like that or whatever. But but we hear these type of terms, or they sound like a man because their voice is deeper. Well, I know some women who have deeper voices. Whoopi Goldberg, go back to her again. Whoopi Goldberg's voice is deep. Oprah's voice is deep.
And I heard it deep. It gets deeper as you age. Like, as you age, it gets deeper, especially in the morning. I heard like singers, like there was an interview I saw with Mariah Carey and Whitney. They were saying that in the morning they sound like men. Like when they first wake up, they sound like men. They say, especially when they're on their period, they say their voice deepens or whatever.
Right.
But I'm like, oh wow, because they sing so high. Like Mariah, she gets way up there. So hear her with a low sounding voice, but she said it's just a thing that women go through.
Just like men can have high voices.
Exactly.
Too. And it's you have these you hear these women saying born male or female, natural born. Well, we're all natural born. We're born. Right. Unless we're not here and we're dead, we are all natural born. I know they use it the way they like to use it, the context that they're using it in, and they put it into like a slang type of thing, or whatever. So they're able to describe themselves and separate themselves from this.
Right.
But we're all biologically born. We're all naturally born, unless it went through the test tube or something, or surrogate or something, or whatever. I don't know, or they manipulated it in a science project or something. I mean, a science experiment or something. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there as comedy. But we're all born natural, regardless of if we have something else going on inside, because none of us are perfect. All of us have some flaws or something that people can say, could be a deformity or something. We all have something that's not might not be considered natural or whatever, but we're all born natural. We're biologically born. And then the other one is, people, the religious people like to throw in sinful or demonic. People will say stuff, like that, putting us in, putting gays and trans and queers and stuff like that into the demonic, sinful category. You know what I'm saying? And it's all harmful, and where it may not harm us because we're not trans, or whatever, but it's still, it's harming trans.
Right. It's adding on to their way of life. I mean, we all are gonna have challenges and experiences or whatever. Why add extra because a person is different than you or chooses to be, they choose to be who they feel they are? Why add on to that? And why think that, whatever they're going through is going to somehow diminish you or whatever? I mean, I just think that everyone should get to a place where a place of respect, or a place where we can just be inclusive, and just find a way where your differences don't divide you, but they bring you together, and they begin to even empower you as women. Because there's some things that I think women like if they really got together and on the same page and just really set in places where they can talk, I guarantee you there will be so much that both genders can help each other with, and kind of like bring light to. There's so much that transgender women can learn. I mean, their moms, their moms are women, and they've learned so much from their moms. And transgender women can teach bio women so much. It's like, shoot, I see it every day with the makeup. Like transgender women, to me, have taught bio women so much when it comes to makeup, because I see women now trying to contour. I think that's the right word. Contour their noses or whatever. Trans women and drag queens and all that, they've been doing that for years. And I think bio women are just now getting to learn all the tricks of the trade or whatever, with all the makeup and stuff. So there's so much that if y'all ever got on the same page, y'all could learn so much from each other.
So and y'all out there too, should trans just say they are trans and not include women or man at the end of trans? Instead of saying I'm a trans woman or I'm a trans man, should they just say I'm trans and leave it at that, and don't say I'm a woman or a man? And then also, why are heck women saying gays and trans are jealous of and don't like bio women? Because trans and gays they love most of them. There's some that don't hate them because of some of the stuff that
our moms are bio women.
Yeah, that heterosexual people can, some of the harm that they do to us or whatever, but we still love women, and we love men, or whatever. Trans women, the ones who are dressed, the ones who dress in women's and, like women, female clothing or whatever, the ones who dress in those type of clothing, putting on the makeup or getting the augmentations and stuff, like that. They want to emulate women, so they love it. I don't see why they say that, because they're emulating you. Why would they emulate you and do all this, if they didn't respect and love women
and admire
them and stuff, like that. So that's like crazy to me, why straight women put this in, heterosexual women put this in their comments or say this type of stuff or get on other shows and say this type of stuff, because and it's just like the trans men, well, they love men, or whatever, because they're emulating them, and or having the surgeries and stuff so they can become like them, or whatever. That's crazy for people to say that type of stuff,
right.
And then
for me, I don't think anyone needs to initially disclose whether they're trans or not, because I'm not even in that type of relationship with you at this point or whatever. I'm just meeting you. So you don't have to tell me that. I'm not about to tell you all my business, so you don't have to tell me yours. I think when we develop that relationship, you may want to share that with me, only because you may feel like, hey, I want to be honest with you. Because there may be some situations or circumstances we may get in where this is going to be of importance or whatever. And then if we are moving into a more romantic kind of way, I may need to, expose that. Well, not may, I think you should. Because if I'm going to be, if I'm going that route with you, I think you owe that to me to let me know, hey, I may present one way out here, but when I take these clothes off, I present another way, because I may not be down with that, or I may be down with that. So I think you should at least give me the choice to decide whether I want to do that. But if we're just friends, or I'm just meeting, I'm just bumping into you, or we're just colleagues, we work together, I don't need to know all that, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that trans people should have to disclose. Let me tell you, maybe in a perfect world again, yeah, maybe, I don't know, but the world we live in is dangerous to me for a trans person to disclose, especially to men.
Mm-hmm.
It's dangerous to disclose up front that they are trans. Maybe later, maybe later, like you said, when you just meet somebody or whatever, you're just getting to know them. You might go out on a date or something. That doesn't mean that it's going further. That doesn't mean you're in a relationship with them, or that a relationship is even going to evolve. Usually with trans women, it's usually the heterosexual download or trade men that go after them. They're not usually going after, they're usually not going to just come up to, in my experiences with the trans that I've known, they don't usually just go up to a man and like we would do in a bar, like, hey, what's up, or hey, you sexy, they don't just usually go up and do that. They're more cautious than that, right. Usually it's the men, the het men or download or trade men that go, that go up to them. Most of them know that they're trans, because most of them, not most of them, but a lot of them are paying the trans, especially the ones who are the trans that are the sex workers and stuff. They're actually paying them, so they're not tricked. Now there might be a case or two out there where one did get tricked or whatever and stuff, but most of the time, probably 90 to so and so % of the time, it's the men that are actually approaching the trans because they know that they're trans, or somebody has told them they're trans, or they may think that they're trans or something, the trans women. And then, but then when these trans women, just say they're there and a man goes up to them and he doesn't know that they're trans, because maybe he thinks that they are female, or whatever, for them to disclose right then, and the man just comes up talking to them, right, or trying to pick them up or hit them, because a lot of men are just hitting them up so they can get sex, because they may think it's a female and they're gonna get some sex out of it or something, like that. Well, yeah, in that case, he may not know. You know what I'm saying? But I still, if I was a trans person, I would not disclose that right off, because the ones that have, they've been beaten. Not all of them, but a lot of them have. The shit has been beaten out of them. They've been verbally abused, or whatever, and or killed. That has happened when they do disclose. That's why they're cautious, and some of them are afraid to disclose, or whatever. There are some who say that they will disclose, but I think most of them won't disclose right off. They might, if they're, and some of them aren't even interested in the guys that come up to them anyway. So why should they tell them that they're trans or something, right, like that, when they're not even interested in them, and nothing's going to even go further. Right. And even with the ones the guys that come up to them, it might not be nothing going further with them either. They might be just up there just flirting or doing whatever. Why should you just come up out and say I'm a trans just so we can let you know? Straight people don't come out and tell us I'm straight. Right. We just have to sit there and assume that you're straight. Right. Just because if a woman hits on me, or a guy, hits on me or whatever, I don't just they don't come up and say, well, I'm straight. You know what I'm saying? Right. Or I'm straight. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Sex shouldn't even be, because I see why some may say that, because they don't want to feel like I've trapped this man or I tricked him or whatever. But on the first occasion, on the first occasion, why is sex even a matter? Right now, we're just getting to know each other. That's why I say I think there's a time where that may come. But first initial interaction with someone, I don't think you need to tell me that. If I had and to me, I'm not even thinking about the sexual issue, because I wouldn't date a transgender person, I don't think, or whatever. So to me, I put myself in the position like if I had a friend.
Mhm.
So if my friend was transgender, initially meeting them, I don't need to know that or whatever, but I can see where my friend may later on down the line tell me, because say we get stopped by the police or whatever, and they have a license and it still shows male or whatever, or it still shows female or whatever, they may want to already, warn me like, hey, Charles, I was born this way, those kind of come, or like we go to a club or whatever, and you have to show your ID. They may already get me ready to say, hey, we may get some whatever at the door because my ID, stuff like that. But as far as sick, I'm not about to have sex with you. I'm not about to get romantic with you. So that doesn't even have to come up with me. But as a friend, you may want to alert me that there may be some situations, if we ever get, because we may not ever get in these situations, but if we ever were to get in a situation like that, I just want you to know that, hey, this is the way it is. And so if they kind of treat me a certain way or whatever, I want you to know, and hopefully you have my back, because some of them may get, discriminated just because of that, and you manhandle them or whatever. And it's like, no, that's my friend. Don't handle my friend like that just because, the ID says one thing and, or whatever. So, hey, we buck, that's my friend. You're not going to do that. So I would like for my friend to share that with me, so that those type of situations come up, that we're prepared for those. Mm-hmm. And I have her back, his back, whatever. And I know how to handle it if something, escalates or whatever. But as far as sex, for me, it's not. But I know there are situations where a lot of transgenders want to, put that out there. But I'm like, if sex is not on the table right there, then no. But now if you're a prostitute, or like some of them do, right, prostitute or whatever, then you may want to disclose that. But hopefully you're in a safe space where, but
I think when they're sex workers, when they're sex workers, the men already know that they're what's up, because they go seek them out. The sex worker trans, and I'll speak from I'll say trans women, because I don't know much about trans men. I haven't even heard of many trans men. I haven't heard of any trans men that were sex workers, but I know they're out there. Oh no, they're out there because I've seen them in porn videos. Yeah. So no, they're out there, but I do know a little bit more about the trans women. They, when they're doing that, if they're out there on specific sites, or they'll put that in their profiles, or there's certain places where, where people know, where the men know to go to pick up the trans women if they're out on the street and stuff, like that. They're not just going up to these straight men, what I'm saying, and offering themselves to them. These are men, these are your husbands, your boyfriends, or your sons, or whatever, who are specifically seeking these trans women out for sex, or whatever. Like we said before, it could be like a fetish for them, and stuff, like that. Or they just, they prefer, some of them only prefer trans women. Some of them don't even like straight, women. These are, right. Some of them don't like women at all. Like they don't like heterosexual women. They only like trans women. They don't like gay boys. They don't like bisexual boys. Men, I should say men, not boys, because people come and thinking I'm talking about real young kids, and I'm talking about grown men actually. But some of them don't even like that. They only like trans women. And they seek them out, and they will pay for it, or they'll seek them out even if they're not paying for it. They'll seek them out for sex or whatever, and that's just the way it is, and some, not all, I always have to preference not all, because people think you're throwing everybody into one big box, but not all. But men have a fragile, a lot of them have fragile masculinity. And then that's why they act out in some of the ways they do, because, with these trans women, with these men seeking them out, a lot of them don't, they're on the down low with it, what I'm saying, or they're underground with it or whatever. And they don't want heterosexual people to find out. They don't want heterosexual women or men to find out that they actually do like these trans women, So when they get, if something happens where they do get found out or somebody's questioning them, that's where that toxic masculinity comes in, and they got to prove that I'm a real man and I wouldn't fuck with that type of person, you know, or no, they came after me when actually you went after them, but they'll lie to you. And a lot of these women will believe that, you know, and they'll believe that man or whatever. And it's not, most of the time it's not true. They went after them, but it was the thing of being caught or found out. And then that toxic masculinity comes up, where then that's where they can beat that person, you know, to prove their masculinity, you know, to show, no, I wasn't with them, they came after me, and they can beat them or harm them, kill them, or start using verbal language against them and stuff, you know, like that. Them fags, you know, because they'll lump trans in and call them fags, and you know, and stuff, you know, like that too. Even though they're not gay, know, queer, you know, they're women.
And it seems like the transgender women of color seem to experience a lot more violence and, you know, challenges towards them.
Right. And it happens in mainstream society too, but we see a lot more of that toxic masculinity coming out of Black men towards trans than we do out of the white male community. We also see a lot of that verbal abuse and stuff coming out of Black women than we do, you know, it happens in the other community too, but you don't hear much about the white women saying, you know, worried about cis. You know, I mean, I'm sure they're out there, but we hear so many Black women say that, but then you don't hear. It's like, and then you don't even hear Black men. You don't hear the Black men, a few you do, but you don't hear a lot of Black men worried about the word cis. You know what I'm saying? You don't even hear them discussing it that much, but you do hear it out of the Black women, you know. And I might understand a little bit of why they think that or whatever, because they feel like, you know, well, we're already at the bottom of the barrel. We're already treated bad by Black men, and we're already treated bad by society, and they put us, you know, down here, and now they're taking these trans women and giving them, you know, and attaching our attributes and traits and features to them, you know, that they don't actually possess, you know, whatever, and they're doing it. And so now they're taking this away from us too. You know, what else do you want to take away from us, basically? You know, what else are you going to do to us? What else do you want to take away from us? But to me, you know, y'all put yourself in that situation, you know, stuff, because that means you don't feel good about yourself for some reason, that you got to think that a trans woman is taking something away from you, you know, whatever, you know, you're great within yourself, you know, and stuff, whatever your qualities and traits and attributes and stuff are, you know, those are your traits and attributes and stuff. You're great within that. You know, you don't go and try to demean somebody else and put them down, you know, to make yourself feel better and stuff, you know, like that, or, you know, jumping on the Claudia Jordan bandwagon with all of her trans rhetoric and transphobia comments that she posts all the time, transphobic, you know, and stuff, you know, like that. When you can have gay friends, you can have straight friends, you can have trans friends, and you can still be gay phobic, and you can still be transphobic, you can be straight phobic, you know, or whatever and stuff, and still have those, you know, them have friends and stuff, you know, like that. Or you can, you know, use them to make money off of them, you know, and stuff, you know, like that. And in the public, you can say, oh, I love, you know, or whatever. I love so-and-so, and still be, you know, because what happens with that is a lot of times once some of these women, they can be friends with gay men, you know, they can be friends with trans women, you know, and stuff, and they can be kikiing, and they can be my good Judies and all of this type of stuff until they fall out with them. And when they fall out with them, then they become all these men. You become all these men, and you become a fags or girl. I mean, you become
your government name.
Yeah, you ain't, you know, you're not a woman. Right. You know, we're by a woman, you know, and that's like with Tasha K and them, you know, and Just Hilarious and all of that type of stuff. You know, when they fall out with the trans, because first if they're making money off of them with their lives and stuff, or doing stuff, and they kikiing and hanging out with them and getting their makeup and stuff done, or just whatever's being done to them, you know, they love the gays and and stuff, and let's hang out. Real Housewives, got all them the gays running on there, and so and so. But as soon as they fall out with them, then all of a sudden you're hearing them calling them, you're a whole man, you're all of this and type of stuff, or they got trans women as their friends, but then if they think that their man has looked at the trans woman or something, like that, all of a sudden, then their man, and that man might not even know that that's a trans woman. You know what I'm saying? And they're going to go out that trans person and say, oh, well, that's a trans. They just put that person in harm's way, because then that man could be like, because that woman is standing there or people are around, it's like, oh, people are looking at me now like I like trans or something like that. And then they can verbally abuse them, beat them, or kill them.
I remember T.S. Madison, she played a video of a woman, a biological woman that, I guess she had masculine, traits or whatever. Mm-hmm. And she walked into a store and the clerk beat her because he thought she was trans. And T.S. Madison, her point was, since day one, I've told y'all that transphobia affects all women. Mm-hmm. And what she means by that is when people are, they have whatever bias or discrimination or whatever against trans women, any woman that they feel or think or sense that they could possibly be trans is going to be affected by it. So it's not just going to be the true trans women, it's going to be even the women that even show an ounce of masculinity or whatever, that's going to be affected or whatever. So it will behoove all women, trans, biological, to just get on the same page, because this could affect you. Because like we said, you said last week that even Miss Netta, and it is true that there are some women that look like Miss Netta. Mm-hmm. And so there could be, your aunt, that your auntie or whatever that goes into the store and she's given, that Miss Netta look, and she gets beat up just because of the way she looks, because they assumed that she was trans or whatever. So it affects, like Tia said, it affects all the women.
Right. And then it's just like with T.S. Madison. So if you look at this picture here, there's a trans man in there. Mm-hmm. That's that man was born biologically female, mm-hmm. right? But but now that's a trans man, and to me, he looks like a whole man to me. Yeah, that looks like and I would look at him and be like, oh damn, like I didn't talk to him. Mm-hmm. I know, like when you say, I'm like you. I wouldn't date a trans woman because I'm not attracted to women like that anymore. Mm-hmm. And I really wasn't in the beginning. I really wasn't that attracted to women anyway. Mm-hmm. But I'm not attracted to women. I don't date and have sex with women anymore. So no, I would not date a trans woman. But it has nothing to do with them being a trans woman. Right. It's just like, you look like a woman. If I see you with all that makeup on and breasts and shape, and all that type of stuff, I'm not attracted to that type of femininity or anything like that. Because you look like a woman to me, but or you are a woman.
Or you are, yeah,
right. But then when I look at that trans man right there, mm-hmm. then all of a sudden I could, sexual shit can come into I can be fetishizing him, like, oh my God, he's he's fine, he's good looking, mm-hmm. Or whatever. Not saying I would cross that line, because if I found out and there was a vagina down there, I don't know if I could cross that line and do it. It might, but there's plenty of people who can. I have friends who do like trans men, mm-hmm. Who likes a trans man, and they're actually gay, mm-hmm. And stuff. My friends are gay, so there are gay men that do like trans. I know people say that gay men don't like trans people as far as sexually or whatever, but that's not true. Right. There are gay men who like, they like gay men, they like gay men, and they like trans men too.
There's somebody for you.
Right. And just like straight men, like, there's straight men out there who like trans women, and they like heterosexual women, you know.
And to go with that, there are heterosexual men that like trans women pre-op, or you know, some of them they prefer that the trans woman keep her genitals or whatever.
Right.
They're okay with that.
And, yeah,
you know,
right, because you know, some heterosexual men who like trans women, they will, if that trans woman cuts off her piece, you know, her penis, whatever you want to say, if they have that removed, they don't even want to be bothered with them,
right.
You know, whatever, because if they want a heterosexual woman with the vagina already, they would go get, you know, they can get that. And a lot of them already have that. They already have wives and girlfriends that already have the vagina and all that type of stuff.
Right.
When they go after these trans people, they intentionally want to see that piece.
That's what I'm
with the breast. They want the femininity, and they also want to see that piece, because some of them also get pegged. I mean, some of them also get, you know, the expression, they get fucked by that trans, you know, because trans can still, some of them can and some of them can't. Depends on if that thing is working or not, you know, but some of them, you know, they some men like to get fucked by trans, you know, or whatever. And then some of them like to fuck the trans, you know, or whatever. That's what they like, you know, or whatever. But, you know, like Flame Monroe, you know, he goes by he, she, we. Right. You know, to me though, that's them, they. You call yourself what you want, but to me, he, she, we is them, they.
The same thing with Miss Netta. Clearly, that's what her pronouns are too. Is them, they to me.
Right.
Yeah.
So. And I do see Miss Netta as, to me, I see Miss Netta as a them, they. But I also, that's just me judging her. You know which I can, but I can't. You know, or whatever. But that's just me judging her. I see it like Deshaun said last week when he was in our live. You know, she's on the outside, she presents as masculine male, you know, masculine female, you know, or whatever. But on the you know, or male, but on the inside, she's really a female. You know, on the inside, she's really a female. You know, her inner workings are really female inside, but on the outside, she can present as a female or a male, but just masculine, you know, or whatever. And then, you know, you hear T.S. Madison all the time talking about she got tits, you know, tits at the top and dick at the bottom, you know, stuff. And she doesn't want to. Neither one of them want to have the surgery. You know, they're totally fine and happy with what they have. They don't have to have the SRS surgery, you know. You know, and is it disrespectful for het women, you know, for trans women to claim womanhood? We talked about that a lot already. You know, a lot of them don't like when a woman claims that they are a woman. They're like a trans person. They don't like it when they say that they're actually a woman, or that they can claim different stuff. You know, trans women know that they can't get pregnant. You know what I'm saying? Trans women know that milk is not going to come out of their breast. You know, they know that they're not going to have a period, you know, stuff, you know, like that. But I can tell you just about everything else they can do and portray, you know, and stuff, you know, like that. Femininity, raising kids, you know, all of that, you know, nurturing and stuff. That is just not confined to a woman. And I'm a man. Okay, and I raised my son by myself, and he wasn't even out the hospital yet. You know what I'm saying? And I went and took care of him, you know, in the hospital until he came home. And when he came home, I'm the one who raised him, and I nurtured him. You know what I'm saying? So I, you know, if you want to call it feminine qualities or whatever, you know, all of it. You know, every single thing that a woman can do, I can do, except for, you know, and I'm not a trans, you know, but I can do every single thing that they can do. You know, and men do, a lot of men do it too, you know, cook, clean, nurture, be compassionate. A lot of the feminine energy that they say that belongs to women, I can possess those at any given time that I want to. And I had to possess them to raise my son and to do all of that type of stuff, you know. And then I can have sex with a man too, just like a woman can. I don't have a vagina, or whatever, but I can do either or, in the bedroom or whatever. So it be top or bottom, if whatever we're doing. So it's nothing that a woman where they say that this is what exudes for a woman. Yeah, natural. Mostly you see a lot of that characteristics and traits in women, but a man can possess that too, and they don't have to be trans at all. You know what I'm saying? So, and same thing for trans men. They can, they can get out there and do some of the heavy lifting and be as strong, or whatever, and possess, some of those manly qualities and stuff too. So, so anybody, I think anybody, if you whatever you want to be, you can claim womanhood if you want to, just like you can claim manhood if you want to, whether you were born that way or not. So anyway, and then so here's my friend. Here's my friend Shirako right there. That's my friend from Cincinnati. She passed away in 2021, but that's my first trans friend that I met. But she's no longer here. And she was on Jerry Springer. She got on there. They were all amazed. Men used to, men would come into the Metro, where Shirako performed at. They would come in there in Cincinnati, and they would just be in awe. They didn't even know that she was a man at all,
right.
And they would try to pick her up and do, and some of them had, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And but that's her. And then, and as we can say, some women can look manly. I mean, there's Miss Netta, but there's, Flame Monroe, Jess, and stuff. Now Flame Monroe, she doesn't look as feminine to me as T.S. Madison does,
Right.
And then, let me put this up here.
And it's whatever your definition of, like Laverne Cox, like she said, she would never dispel whether she's had the surgery or not, but just her presenting in public, she gives me all female. Mm-hmm. She's beautiful. Janet Mock, I think she had something to do with Pose, like she was one of the creators or whatever. India Moore, that was on Pose. Mm-hmm. She's a very attractive trans woman. Mm-hmm. And then you're gonna have some that like Caitlyn Jenner. I see a whole man every time I see her, but I know I know that she, she wants to be called a woman, and so I will respect that or whatever. But yeah, you look very manly to me, and
that's like when I look at clockable. When I look at T.S. Madison, she doesn't look clockable to me. Now the issue, the stuff going around is that women are saying that she looks, more. She looks clockable. That Miss Netta is more passable than what T.S. Madison is, and that's what got T.S. Madison on her tangent going off, or whatever, with different and other stuff that was going on too. But when I look at T.S. Madison, I just see a woman. When I look at Miss Netta, I can see a woman, but I see a masculine woman. Mm-hmm. But T.S. Madison to me would pass. Is passable, but Miss Netta to me really can go either way, and then when I look at Flame Monroe, Flame Monroe to me would be clockable. Mm-hmm. I don't see, even though she has her tits and the figure and stuff, like that, it probably would cross my mind, that's a trans woman, whatever. I wouldn't do that when I see T.S. Madison, and then when I look at Jess, we talked about it last week. She can go either way to me. She's kind of androgynous looking. She can either be she could be a trans woman to me, or she could be a het woman. And
it's kind of like even when I look at Ellen and got and women that kind of look, they look like that. They have the short haircuts and they wear like, on the red carpet, they wear the tuxedos or whatever. Even biological women, they're now wearing the tuxedos and whatever. Ellen, even though I know she's not transgender, she gives me, that manly, like sometimes she can like give me like a soft looking man or whatever. So even with all this transphobia, she could be one of the ones that could be affected. She could go somewhere and get beat up because people, assume, whatever. So it's like, I don't know. It's like we just really need to respect people's choices and not assume. I mean, just ask. Right. You don't have to beat up everybody.
And then I look over here at Michelle. Now there's times I looked at Michelle and she looked like a whole man to me sometimes. I mean, she looked like to me she could have been a Miss Netta. And I know T.S. Madison calls her Magilla Gorilla. They done been into it too, but she's calling her Magilla Gorilla. Now when I look at her there, she looks like a female. She looks like a het woman to me, or whatever. But there's other pictures I've seen of Michelle, and she looked like she could be a trans woman to me. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So in this world, people can go either way. So for us to be labeling people saying, "Oh, you look like a whole man" or whatever, you could be telling an actual het woman, another het woman could actually be telling another het woman that she's trans. That she's a trans person, whatever, and that might not even be the case. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So then, with transitioning, it says the time period in which a person begins to live according to their gender identity rather than the gender they were thought to be at birth. While not all transgender people transition, a great many do at some point in their lives. So do you think it's necessary for just your opinion, do you think it's necessary for just because you're trans that you should get the SRS surgery or whatever, or get boobs or anything like that?
I think it's your choice. You take it as far as you want to. Because regardless, this person has decided that even though I was born this way, I feel and I am this or whatever. And whatever this is, you can take it as far as you want to. You don't have to have any surgery. But if you see yourself as a female or a male, opposite what you were born as, then that's who you are. And no one should even have a say or even, it shouldn't even be up for discussion whether or not you've chosen to do this or do that or whatever, because like we say, gender is a spectrum and people are going to express their gender all kind of different ways or whatever. My gender is a male. We're not a monolith. I mean, male can come in so many different looks or whatever. I think, society and, just culturally, we want to put people in these, different boxes or constructs or whatever. But it should be up to that individual how they want to express, their gender. I mean, what do you say to the guy that is over in Europe and they wear, the kilts or whatever? I mean, is that not a man? Because he wears, what looks to us like, a dress or whatever. I mean, you just can't go by, what a person looks like or presents. You have to go further these days because you could come off offensive and you could come off like judgmental or whatever. So I think a lot of them feel like just because this is your version of what a male is or this is your version of what a female is, I don't have to succumb to either way. I can be as female as I want to be and still have everything that I was born with or whatever. So I don't think that a trans person, a transgender person, has to have any kind of surgery if they don't feel like they want that or need that. What have you. Some of them just feel like at the core, I know who I am, and what in a surgery is not going to confirm or deny that.
Right.
So.
Right. So it says and what we're talking about, like the SRS, sex reassignment surgery, a surgical procedure that can help people achieve a more masculine or feminine appearance. It's also known as gender, affirming surgery, gender reassignment surgery, or gender confirmation surgery. Okay, so then, do you think it's safer if the person has had the surgery? Because is it safer, for passable trans? Do they have more? Do you think they have better privilege in society if they have had the surgery and they can pass than a trans that is clockable?
Yeah, I think I think you give more, and I hate to say illusion, but I mean, you give more of what society has said a female should look like or whatever. So yeah, you're going to be passable, or you're going to blend in more with the other females when they see the breast or whatever. But there's a lot of women that don't have big breasts. Some of them are flat chest. Yeah. A lot of them
have them removed because of cancer.
So I mean, you can't really just say because a person has breast or not that they pass, or they blend in more, or they're gonna have more success in life or whatever. I think it's just a personal thing, and it just needs to be respected. With each individual, to me, it's personal, and it's an individual's choice on how far they want to go or not go. But yeah, because we are visual people, those things, yes, are going to kind of, they're gonna kind of, I guess, make us know, what sex you may be or whatever. But like I said, I think it's up to the individual on how far they want to go or not.
Yeah, and I think it depends, because they may be able to pass. Not all of them can. Just because you've had the surgery, that doesn't mean it's going to give you give you feminine characteristics or something, like that, unless you do a whole bunch of other enhancements or whatever. Sometimes you can do stuff to make yourself look more feminine or whatever. But I think it could be a privilege for them, or whatever. But it can also be dangerous for them because if they're able to pass and society sees them as a heterosexual woman, okay, well, when they disclose that they are trans, if they disclose, but when they disclose that they are trans, or somebody finds out, then that's where it could become dangerous for them, where it goes back to they can be, abused, beat, or killed or something, because the person didn't know that they were a trans woman, and then and they believed them to be a heterosexual woman, and then sometimes that has happened where they've had they've had a vagina, they've had a vagina and stuff made, and they have the boobs, and they have gotten into a relationship and stuff, and it's been long term, and it might have been a year or two, and the person didn't know that was a trans woman, and then they find out, because they're not going to be able to give birth unless it's a trans man, But if it's a trans woman, they're not going to be able to give birth, and then if they didn't disclose that they can't have children, or whatever, or something happens where that person finds out, then some harm could happen to them, and then what about those who don't transition? Are they straddling both sides of the fence? You know what I'm saying? Where they can, when they want to take it all off, that they could go be heterosexual, or present as heterosexual, or present as a gay man, or whatever. Kind of like what Morgan was talking about earlier. But are they straddling both fence where they still have like we're talking about a trans woman, you just say she has tits, but she still has her penis and stuff too. And then, but they can straddle both sides of the fence, and not be a woman. You know what I mean? Or just say they don't have the breasts, but they're still trans. They're still trans. They don't have their breasts, and they still have their penis. And then when they don't want to be a woman, or they want to present themselves in society as a man, which most of them don't. You know what I'm saying? But some do, but most of them don't. Do they have privilege where they can straddle both sides of the fence, where the trans woman who has had the SRS surgery can't do that? They have to present as a woman all the time.
I don't really see a trans person doing that. I mean, I'm pretty sure some may or whatever, but I think if you have decided and you have made the choice to say, I am a trans woman or I'm a trans man, I think you're going to stick with that. I don't think you're going to go back and forth. I'm pretty sure there are probably some that may do that or whatever. But I think when you have made that decision, I think because to me, if you're doing that could be mental illness. You probably do need to sit on somebody's couch if you're going back and forth like that. If you have claimed to be a transgender person, why would you sometimes portray to be a woman, but then sometimes portray to be a man or whatever? And like I said, there may be some that do that, but I would like to believe that if you have made the decision to be that sex other than what you were born with, then you're gonna kind of stick with that. But I know some could, probably. To me, it's almost like you're trying to. What's the word? Like you're trying to get over on people if you're doing that or whatever. Unless I would see that more when you have the like the entertainers or the cross dressers, how on stage they're this or whatever. When they take everything off, they're back to whatever, they were born with. I can see them kind of like going both ways. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe there are some transgender people out there that you kind of do both or whatever, because you don't have the breast or whatever. So since you don't have the breast, you can sometimes not play, but you can sometimes, go out and be the male you and, or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe we have some in the audience or.
I think but those ones who do that, wouldn't that put them in the non-binary category though? Because that would be a non-binary person.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
You don't really see you're both.
Yeah, and you can switch back and forth. I mean, I've heard I haven't heard a lot about it, but I have heard of one couple, and then they were like, I think they were together about 2 years before he actually found out.
Really?
Yeah, before he found out, and it was like their relatives who had went and told him, and he didn't know. But the thing of it is, he ended up staying with the and I've also heard of it with trans men, where the woman didn't, But then also there are, there's been I've heard of the trans men where it was a man and a woman, and they were a married couple, and they had kids and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But then he transitioned. He transitioned to no, it was the woman. The woman transitioned to a male, and then he stayed with her. They've been together like 30-something years, and he transitioned. And they stayed married, and they were happy, or whatever. So,
I guess so. So since non-binary is a category of this, then I guess you really can't say they're straddling the fence. They fit in the non-binary, Because like when I first started researching, they had all these categories: trans men, trans women, non-binary, gender queer, gender fluid, agender, and the two spirits. So you just be who you are.
Yeah, and then so like with like when you're talking about drag queens, then because drag queens, they're not trans, but they can take, they can put on makeup and feminine clothes, get up there and perform, and they can be just as feminine as some women, and they can also exude their masculinity too, because But with drag queens, you usually can tell that they are. You can tell. Actually, you can tell drag queens are men because they still have all their manly features and stuff, and they will exaggerate everything, of the woman or whatever. But the trans that do drag, because there's trans that perform, but I meant to years ago. I don't know if this still applies, but years ago, a trans person could have went through all of the transition except for they couldn't get rid of their penis. If they got rid of their penis, they weren't allowed to perform on stage. Because drag performance is considered men dressed up in women's clothing, emulating women and stuff and over exaggerating the women's stuff, or whatever for comedy and making money and stuff, like that. But trans women, they used to wouldn't let a trans woman really compete, or whatever, because they thought it took it out of the drag category. But then they started letting the trans women compete in the pageants and on show and stuff, and they can make money and get paid and stuff, like that. So I don't know if it's still a thing, but if they went through the whole SRS surgery and got rid of their penis, and then they had the breasts and everything else, and they weren't allowed to compete. But maybe they are now. I don't know. But I don't know if you heard anything about that. But I know you don't pay much attention to drag queens like I do. I like watching them and stuff, and then you don't pay that much attention to the way I do. But
oh no,
yeah, whatever.
But I know that. I know because of, I'll say this: when a person chooses to be who they feel like they were born to be, transgender, they decide that not to go with the gender that they were born with, or a person that has decided to dress up and do the shows or whatever. I think that a lot of them choose that because that's for some of them, that's sometimes the only way they can get money or whatever. So I think we probably have gotten to a point where that's kind of understood. So whether you have a surgery or not, we'll let you perform, because I do understand that it's probably hard for you to just go out and get a regular job or whatever.
But some people won't hire them because they find out, if they haven't changed their license and passports and all of their birth certificate, if they haven't changed all of that over, it's still going to have their, their genetic, their name, what they were assigned to at birth. They haven't changed all that over, so they have to show that to when you go on a job or something, like that, and they may not hire them because we don't want no transsexual, we don't want to hire a so and so. So sometimes, and then some of them just like performing because they can make money, and they like the notoriety and fame that comes with being a performer and stuff, like that. So, but yeah, that can be a factor. Or whatever. But then again, I don't know whether that has changed. Like if they remove their piece, if they can perform on stage or not. But then, and then it's like, what defines a woman and what defines a man? What is the essence of a woman? Does being a woman only boil down to only being able to give birth or your hormones and chromosomes? And no, it doesn't. A female.
You're a female.
If you to say you're a female, then that would narrow down to your hormones and chromosomes and biological, whatever you want to know, or being able to give birth and breastfeed and stuff, like that, and having a period. That would boil down to being a female. But to be a woman, no, or whatever. You can possess all of them qualities and learn all of them qualities and be a woman. So
if a woman can do everything, say everything,
No, we didn't say everything. They can't. A woman can't be everything that a man can be. And just like a man can't be everything that a woman can be, but you can possess some of the qualities and traits and behaviors. That's what we're saying. But no, you can't be everything because a man can't give birth, not out of a vagina,
Right.
or have a cesarean section. You know, a man can't do that, or a man can't breastfeed or have a period. But they can do everything else. Just like I was telling them, I raised you, and my feminine qualities came out when I raised you. But I'm not a woman. I don't even want to be a woman. I'm not a trans woman or a trans man. You know, but I raised you, and then a lot of feminine energy came out. It took a lot of feminine energy to raise you.
Which I just associated with birth and stuff like that to more so
Well, but a woman, only a woman can physically give birth to a baby. Now, a man can provide the sperm, but a woman
Go
can,
back to saying female, because that was your point.
Yeah.
Only a female.
can give birth.
so that's the case, right? That
Yes.
means you're associating everything that will go into that process with females, right?
Not everything.
But it'd be of the same process.
We had our 2 hours.
Process of giving birth without having the process period. Therefore, you can't separate the two and say one means it's the woman and the other one.
Well, female. It's female, not woman. A woman can be a trans or whatever. A female is the one biologically. Female, the scientific term for female for the biological women, if you want to go that way, is a female, not a woman.
So that then what you're saying is, what you're really saying is, the process of having period to grand cell periods and stuff like that, spanning all the way to giving birth
Just female.
and holding a
That's
child.
female.
Okay, so having said that, anything else, whether it's feelings, you're gonna quote that, you're gonna equate that to just being a woman.
That would go with that could be a woman, but women qualities can fit into female too. Okay, but you can't take the biological. I mean, you can't take the giving birth, having a period, and breastfeeding and stuff like that. You can't take that out of the female. You can't take that out. Only a female can do that. Okay, but you can, the nurturing, the feminine qualities and traits, that can be in anybody. It doesn't have to be just a woman. I mean, it doesn't have to just be a female.
That's what I'm going with. That's what I'm going with.
Mhm.
So let's say that what you just said.
Okay, come on, Nate. I got to get back to the line. Come on.
Everything can be as whether it's a woman or a man. What is the need for saying I'm a man or a woman? If that's
Right.
the case, you should just say what your gender is based on your genitalia.
No, that's not. I'll explain it to you after the live, or you'll have to go look. Look some of this up because that does your genitalia does not define whether you can be a woman or a man or not. A female, it defines whether you can be a female.
Exactly. And if that's the case, then saying what your preferred gender is has no meaning at all. Because if that's the case, you could just say, oh, I identify as a man,
Right.
but I have no idea who you are. If that's the case, then I shouldn't even try to associate myself with the people because they don't even feel comfortable enough to share to me who exactly they are. If you're not willing to share with me what your actual gender is, then why would somebody be able to fundamentally trust if you can't be honest about the one true thing about yourself?
Yeah, that's our debate. That's what we're talking about here. Like whether you should disclose whether you are a trans woman or a trans man or not. But then should you disclose whether you're a heterosexual man or not when you meet somebody? Should you just come out and say I'm a heterosexual man? Because that's not the way society works. In a perfect world, yeah. you know, we might say, oh yeah, I'm a trans man or I'm a trans woman, but we don't live in a perfect world, you know. And then trans people can be harmed, killed, beat, or whatever when they do disclose. You know, they got to be careful of if they're going to disclose or when they're going to disclose, you know, because of the harm that can happen to them, you know. A straight woman or man is not going to get that same type of abuse that a trans is going to get. Now, straight women have been killed and abused and beaten by men, but for totally different reasons. Not because they disclosed that they were trans or something.
Now, because of the eruption of trans people and stuff like that, now that poses the question: should the pursuer of a relationship include in their first greetings what is your actual gender?
Right. Okay, but see, here's the thing. We said all of this in the beginning of our thing, so you'll either have to go back and look at the live, because you know we got to get over with this, you know, so we can't go back through all of that right now. So you either have to go and look at the live later, or either I'll talk to you later about it, you know, and then we can discuss it. But right now, we've already talked about all of that earlier on in our live. He went back upstairs.
Oh.
Yeah. So, you know, and I'll talk to him. That's my son, but I'll talk to him later about it or whatever. But he's talking about what we talked about earlier about when should you disclose or should you disclose, you know? So, and I don't want to go all the way back through that, you know, or whatever, because we're already at the 2 hours in our live. So he could either go back and watch the live, which he does, him and his friends watch, but we'll have a discussion about it later. But from what I'm gathering from him, he thinks that you should disclose it right off. You know, like when he meets you or whatever, you should tell me whether you are a trans woman. You know, because since he's heterosexual, you know, he dates heterosexual women. You know, so excuse me. So I think he thinks that you should disclose it right off. And my son is not the type. He's not gonna have that toxic masculinity, because if you disclose it to him and told him that you were trans, where he's gonna go off and beat the shit out of you or cuss you out or something like that, he'll be totally fine with it. But he ain't gonna date you, you know, or whatever. But he'll probably still sit there and hold a conversation with you, and you'll become his friend, because that's just the way he is. But he's not gonna date you, you know, or whatever. But you know that.
I think, and a lot of that comes from the misconceptions, or maybe some of the. Just a few, or maybe even seen in Hollywood where people have been tricked or whatever. So I think that's why some of them may say, some, you know, heterosexual men may say, no, I want to know or whatever. You're not about to trick me or whatever, you know, whatever. But I don't think there's, like you said, there's always some, but I don't think there's across the board where they want to trick you and want to, like, you know, deceive you into thinking that they were born with whatever genitalia or whatever, because I feel like they're women, regardless whether you think it or not. If that's what they feel, that's what they are or whatever. But they might not have, you know, what physically what we would say is a woman, but I don't think that needs to be disclosed when I first meet you. That could be on down the line or whatever. And I do want to say that just so people will know, when you do discriminate in these ways, it does lead for some transgender people to have mental issues.
Right.
It also can lead to substance abuse and addiction, suicide attempts. Sometimes because of discrimination, you know, I think they just go out and just live kind of recklessly or whatever, and the HIV numbers or other health problems go up because they feel like, you know, I mean, they have the low self-esteem, so they just go out and do whatever. And then, like we said, the unemployment too, because I can't get a job and you're discriminating against me or whatever. So you want to keep that in mind when you're dealing with humans, and you don't want to make, you don't want to push them to the edge. And I think if people realize that some of their statements or some of the teasing or whatever can really lead people to go down a dark path if they're not built up within and secure or whatever, it can lead to issues like that, like anxiety, depression, PTSD, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's true.
Mhm.
And then just their internal struggles sometimes, just like how gay queer people have struggled with their sexuality,
yeah,
because of how society has, labeled us or treated us, or whatever, or stigmatized us or whatever, that could lead to anxiety,
Mhm.
different mental illnesses and stuff, trying to come to grips with your sexuality or your gender identity or whatever.
Right.
It can lead to mental illness and stuff, and luckily there are therapists and stuff out there that can, they can help you with it, make sure you find the right ones. But but yeah, true. And it says misogyny is a hatred of, contempt for, or prejudice against women or girls. And a lot of men, not a lot, but there's quite a few men out there that can be misogynistic, even though they may not show it, or whatever. They could be secretly misogynistic, where some of them don't even like women. But they'll, because of societal pressure and standards and stuff like that, they'll marry women or date girls when they really do like men, whatever, or they like trans men or whatever. But the question I have is, can heterosexual women be misogynistic against each other? We know that they can be misogynistic. They're being misogynistic against trans women, because trans women are women. You know what I'm saying? And some of the comments and stuff that they say and what they're doing, they are being misogynistic against trans women, but they're also misogynistic against themselves.
They are.
Some of the hateful stuff that they say to each other. Now, they may not see it that way, but that's misogynistic too, when you're labeling and putting other women and stuff down, or not liking them for no reason, just because one might be pretty or built better,
Right.
or whatever, or getting more favor or something, and then they'll say, they can do or say stuff against them, or whatever.
Yeah.
And so they can actually have, that too, yeah.
And like an internal thing, what they say, the call is coming from inside the house.
And then I have the thing, are most gay women transphobic?
Most gay women?
I mean, straight women, most heterosexual women, transphobia. It says transphobia consists of negative attitudes, feelings, or actions towards transgender people or transness in general. Transphobia can include fear, aversion, hatred, violence, or anger towards people who do not conform to social gender roles. And then my question is, can trans be transphobic? And then are most women secretly, gay phobic or transphobic?
So can trans women be transphobic against themselves?
Yeah.
You know what? I think so, because I even see that with the black ethnic group or whatever, how we can be against ourselves because we're all different. Everybody has different experiences or whatever. So some trans women may see that that their experience is more meaningful than the other trans person, and they just have whatever. So it can be done. You can always have that inner prejudice or discrimination against your own people or your own identity or whatever. So I can see that happening. One of the things that really doesn't make it better is, we have, I think we've talked about this on one of the shows, that because the LGBTQ has not really been accepted mainstream or whatever, we kind of created our own little world, and we have these things called houses and all these competitions or whatever, and it's almost like we don't want to be judged by mainstream, but then we get in these ballrooms and stuff, these balls and these competitions or whatever, and we judge each other. So there, the trans people, I think they have a competition where they walk for like realness and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, some of them may be like, "Oh, I'm more real than you are." I'm a real girl, or I had the surgery, and so I could see where that could be, all that going on, and it's funny how
That's exactly what I'm talking
yeah, and it's funny how we don't want that mainstream, or we don't want that from heterosexual people, but then we get over here and we do it to each other. So yeah, I can see us like doing that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do. And then I have why do black heterosexual women find these words offensive? And where do they come from, and why, where did they originate, and where do they come from? And then should the girls use these words? And when you say girls, like GURLS, we're talking about the trans women.
Mm-hmm.
And some people say the girls when they're referring to gay men.
Right.
We'll use it against ourselves or something. But the girls means like the trans women, like fish, cunt, cis. And we talked about cis, and what cis, what it really means, right?
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of heterosexual women do not like, they don't like it when gay men or trans women or something use the word fish or cunt, even though cunt is just recently, because usually gay people didn't used to call each other cunt. That's just a phenomenon in the last so many years. But fish has been around forever, since going into the, they've been calling them fish since the 60s and 70s,
right.
Probably. You know what I mean? Right. But that was gay lingo. It wasn't meant for them.
Mm-mm.
That was gay lingo between gay men,
right.
And the the drag queens and the ballroom scene and stuff, like that. That's where that came in at, as far as fish. Right. And then also cunt came in. They use that a lot in the ballroom scene. But it offends straight women to be called fish. But straight women call themselves all type of shit. They call themselves bitch. Hey bitch, what's up? Hey whore. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I'm a fierce bitch. They say stuff, like that. And then I've even heard straight women call other straight women cunt. But then they get offended when gay people, queer people, or trans women, or whatever, use that word for our own lingo. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
that's gonna always be a thing, because even women, they don't like straight men calling them bitches. Like my girlfriend can call me that,
right?
But and even with that, it's a difference. Like if we just having a friendly conversation, hey bitch, or whatever. But when you say bitch,
right?
I know the difference or whatever. But
the context changes.
Yeah, but for a man to call me that,
right?
No, women don't like that. So I think,
and women don't like it if a man calls them a bitch,
Right.
But then some of them will like, they're okay if a gay guys when they messing around with their good Judies, or they're friends with the trans and they're playing and hanging out and doing that type of stuff. It's okay until they get mad.
Right.
When they get mad or something like that, or they're no longer friends, then that's when the word becomes harmful, or you can't say fishy or fish or whatever. And it's really harmless. It really just means that you giving grandness and beauty, and you giving realness, and stuff, like that. And it's really a compliment. I know some straight people it meant that their vagina was smelling like fish and stuff, but that's not what it means. It just it's just slang that gay people took to amongst themselves to communicate.
It's how it's used, because some gay people may transsexuals, transgender people may say, "Girl, look at fish," and they using it as a bad. I mean, whatever they're doing or whatever. I don't know. But my thing is, like we said before, it's a lack of education, a lack of coming together and getting educated on stuff or whatever. But in the long run, respect how people want to be addressed. Like it's just like the N-word. In some instances, it's okay to call other black people nigga or whatever, but then in some places, no, don't call me that or whatever. So my thing is, no matter how you mean it, you may mean it like, no, you my dog, you my nigga, whatever. But if I show that I'm offended by it, then you should respect me enough not to do it. So for the women that, for whatever reason, think that fish is derogatory, or even if they know the meaning and just don't want to be called that, like, you know, because, you know, with me, my thing about the girl thing or whatever. I mean, I know you don't mean anything, but I don't want to be called that. So just respect me and not call me that. So, I mean, I'm okay with the women or whatever not wanting to be called whatever, but I would like for them to be educated and know that it really doesn't mean what you may think it means. And also it does with the like the bitch word context, because 1 minute the two females, they're okay with calling each other bitch. But then when you upset with me, you call me bitch. Now we're ready to fight.
Now we're ready to fight.
Right.
Like it.
Right. Yeah.
And then to me, is it okay to like when you're around other gay, if you're in the gay you're surrounded in the gay community, or you're out at a gay function or event and everything is gay, or whatever, or trans, whatever. And then a gay guy is using the word fish, but then there's a heterosexual woman there, and then she says, well, I don't like that word. Well, should you stop saying it just because you're in their environment? You're in the gay environment, and then everybody's partying, having a good time, and they're using that word. But that offends you. Should you still stop? Whatever. You should stop. So then,
because we want that same respect. What if the tables will turn, and just because you're in a straight whatever, and they use whatever word, if that word makes you feel uncomfortable, then I would want them to respect me enough to not call me that.
So here's the thing, though. Here's the dilemma, though. They don't want us to say fish, cunt, cis, or whatever and stuff, like that. But when you go look at all them comments and stuff, and the stuff that they are actually saying, they're still calling us fags. They're still calling us, you look like a whole man. You look manly, you look feminine. Even though the trans have said, I don't like that when you do that. I don't like, or I want you to address me and say that I'm a woman. Well, they won't do that. Some of them will, but a lot of them still will not address them as a woman. They still say, I'm a man. And all you have to do is go into anything where these lives or programs or anything like that and read the comments, or the people who are coming in and talking. They a lot of them will still say that, well, you're a man to me. I don't. And some men come in and say the same thing, but they don't stop. But they want us to not use those words or call them cis or do anything like that. But they still use those words against us, especially when they are not your friends and stuff no more. Then those words will fly out of their mouth or through their little fingers when they're typing. That'll fly off of there just like you're pouring water. Pouring water down the sink.
Yeah, I mean, that's gonna be the way of the world, because just like if I tell you I don't want to be addressed as girl or whatever, you are gonna respect me enough to not do that, but the next person may not. So it's gonna. I mean, some people are gonna be respectful and some not. And like you said, all of them are not calling you faggots and you look like a man or whatever. But the ones that do take the time to do that, they have their group that are doing that. But then you have another group that will respect that. So you're gonna have that regard. It's just the way of the world.
But the ones that I'm talking about are the ones who are typing are the ones who are saying, "Don't call me cis. Don't call me, don't call me fish.
So you want
don't call me cunt." And then they'll say that, and they'll say, I'm a real woman. I'm a bio woman. I'm this, I'm so-and-so, so-and-so. They'll type it, and then they'll come right up under there a few comments later, and then they'll type and say, you're a man. You're not, you can't be a biological woman. You're a man. You'll never be a woman. You can't do this, so-and-so. So the stuff that we ask them to say we don't like, that's harmful to us, don't say it, And we want them to respect that. They don't respect it. You know what I'm saying? Right. But then they want us to respect them saying, fish cunt. I don't have to say it because I ain't really running around saying fish cunt anyway. I have done it when I'm playing. I don't know if I've called anybody a cunt, but I don't even use the word cis. It's just not in my vocabulary. But I have called people fish or they fishy. oh, she looks fishy, so and so. And I mean, they look really feminine, and they give it, they're giving woman, and stuff, like that. But you know what I'm saying? But then if you ask me not to say that or whatever, if you say don't call me fish, I'm not going to call you fish, or whatever and stuff, because I usually don't call people that anyway. But but then you can't ask me to not call you that, but then you can go and make a gay slur or something, what I'm saying, or say something, like those fags, or they, those they're fit, or calling a gay man, where they, saying, oh, well, they're, something's wrong with them because they're feminine, or what I'm saying. They can say what they want in society. They haven't stopped saying any of that stuff. Only some don't even use it at all. But those that do, they haven't stopped that.
Right.
And then but they want us to not say, not use the slang that we use or the words we use, or whatever. But then they want us to honor what it's just a double standard, And I don't think that you should have to not say fish, cis or whatever. That's just my thing. Why is that harming you? What is it? What does that do? Be secure in your womanhood or whatever. It's not worry about whether somebody's calling you fish or, or cis or something. And, and it says fish or fishy, or the phrase serving fish is also slang in drag culture for a very feminine drag queen or a femme gay man. Cunt for drag queens exhibiting cunningness is basically the same thing, same thing as fierceness. Fearless, fearless, over the top femininity, or whatever. Cis, there's nothing harmful in cis, it's a scientific term now, denoting or relating to a person whose gender identity corresponds with the sex registered for them at birth. It means on the same side of, it just means, coined in 1994 as an antonym to transgender, which means it's opposite of transgender. If you're cis, you identify as what you were born as and what you were signed as sex. So that means you identify as a male or you identify as a female, whether it's a gay male, a straight male, a binary, non-binary male, whatever I'm saying. You identify as what the sex you were assigned with at birth. That's what that's what that means. It doesn't mean anything harmful, like somebody's trying to take something away from you, like you're trying to make them like they're less than a woman, because we hear most of that out of Black women. And
it's education and just knowing, who you are and what people mean by it. It's almost like, to me, it's almost like the Black thing, and it's not derogatory. Like I think I said before, I had this conversation where on my birth certificate it says colored, and then we went from colored to being, I guess, Black, and then from Black we went to being African American or whatever. So I don't get offended whether you call me. Now, I really don't like color. I don't know why anybody would say that.
Well, but like you said, it started a long time ago. Colored started to keep, because they were calling us niggers.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then colored was more soft. It was. I mean, I can't think of the real reason why it ended up turning into the. But I know the. NAACP. It used it a lot of colored people. I guess because we have so many different tones and aspects to our skin and
if they're going to be called white, we should be. I mean, I guess because we have some color to us. I guess because we're not white. I guess that's where color. I don't know, but yeah, I wouldn't. That's just, to me, outdated. So I don't know why anybody would use that unless you're just trying to be funny or whatever. Because sometimes I say, "Oh, we over here with the colors," But it's one thing when we say it; it's another thing when another ethnic group say it or whatever. But yeah, we went to all that colored, Black, African American. I don't think you're being offensive per se. But if I ask for you to address me as Black, then I would I would appreciate it if you took my stance on it and called me that or whatever. So I guess what these women, well, some of the women, I guess, I don't know, somebody in their minds, I guess they're feeling like this cis thing is not new, but it's new to, everyday lingo or whatever. And it's like the only reason why we're having to do this is because you transgender people have come up now. So now we have to go to cis, and I don't really care for that word or whatever. But my thing is, if you don't want to be called that, then I will not call you that. But know that you are, because it is a biological word, you are cis or whatever.
Right.
And I think because they're not used to hearing it, just like if someone was to call us, like I said, it went from colored to black to African American, what if they came up with a new name? And because it's not something that we hear, some of us may get offended by it, because like, why are you calling me that? I'm used to being called it black. Stick with black or whatever, or stick with African American. So I can see like the pushback, but at the same time, I don't think people are being offensive with it. Some may, but in the long, in the big picture, I don't think most people are being offensive when they use these words or whatever. And then the fish thing, for me, I think, and I'm trying to make myself think like a straight woman or whatever, but I think because fish is like, I know, right? It's gonna be very hard. I think because fish is like gay lingo, like you're coming from two different words. So initially, when a straight woman hears fish, first of all, what do you mean by that? So it has to be explained to them. And some of them may have heard it used in a derogatory way. So they feel like, like, oh, fish over there acting like sheep. So it depends on how they, the context and how they heard it used. But I think once, like I said, this all needs to be a coming together and getting understanding. The internet is free for everybody. You can Google all this stuff. You can have the conversations. There's groups for everything. If people put the effort to it. I don't think people want to put an effort to it because they're stuck in this is what it's always been. We don't need all this new stuff. I don't need your non-binary. I don't need your ABC, LMNOP. I don't need all that. Just keep it simple. But we're not living in a simple world. We're always evolving and things are always changing. And we have to go through the flow, and it always has to be respectful.
And that's it right there. We all, if we don't evolve, we become extinct. Things change in this world.
Mm-hmm.
Context change, words change. We, our biologies and stuff change.
Right.
Our physical changes, and it's designed to be that way. Because if we didn't, we would become extinct. And with these words and stuff, as new words are added to the vocabulary and dictionary, and stuff, encyclopedia, whatever. As new words come into play, we have to evolve, to accept those, to accept those words. We might not use everything or do everything and stuff like that, but it's good that we know what they mean,
right.
Or what this is. Because when we dabble in our ignorance, and don't choose to learn what something is, then we are uninformed, and we do make uninformed choices or say uninformed negative or do negative stuff because we're ignorant of something. All you got to do is, go learn it or ask,
right?
Or whatever, and then, and to take everything as offensive or something just because, you don't, didn't learn up on it or see what it is or whatever, And to me, it goes back to, I think a lot of this goes back to why heterosexual people sometimes believe and think and act the way that they do. It goes back to that whole religious Bible thing where they get into that whole Adam and Eve theory of, God made man and woman, God created Adam and Eve. And Eve gave birth, they get into that creation theory, that's not true, but that's what they believe. And you can believe whatever you want. But I think, and so they think because they believe that, that they had the right to throw that on everybody, you know, on the rest of society, and then and discriminate and use that harmful rhetoric and stuff because they're pulling this shit straight out, you know, what they think is straight out the Bible or something, you know, like that, and they use that to harm people or to stay stuck in their ignorance. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because they equate being gay or trans or queer, they equate that with homosexual.
Right.
So they still think a trans woman is a gay man. A lot of them, because that's what they say in their comments and stuff. Well, you're a gay man.
Mm.
You know, you're not a female. You're not a woman. You're a man. You're a gay man. You know, really a gay man, but you know, passing yourself off, try to pass yourself off as women. And trans, you know, trans don't, most of them don't see themselves as a gay person, as a queer. You know, they don't see themselves as a queer. They see themselves as heterosexual.
Right.
And that's the way we should see them too.
Exactly.
You know, a heterosexual woman or a heterosexual man, you know, unless they're non-binary and they want to present themselves in whatever way they want to present themselves as. But if you say that, you know, if you say you're a woman, you know, then you're a woman. You know, you're not going to be a biological female, but you can be a woman.
Yeah.
And possess all the essence and you can possess the essence and traits and qualities of femininity and feminism, you know, and all that type. It's just not limited to a female.
Right.
You know, or whatever, that all that biology, you know, I'm a bio woman, I'm a natural woman and stuff, you know, like that. Like I said, we're all natural. You know, as long as we're living on this earth, we're natural.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but that's where I think they still see, you know, people see homosexuality as a sin, you know, or whatever, and then when they see a trans person, they don't, you know, not all, but you know, a lot of women. You know, a lot of women and men too, they see another homosexual, they see another man, you know, they see a gay man, you know, or a lesbian, and they don't really see a trans man or a trans woman.
I never thought of it like that. I always thought that they just saw like a monster.
Same thing.
Yeah.
They think that, you know, they think we're monsters or demonic. You remember that lady who came into our live a month or so ago, and she called us demonic.
Yeah,
she said the gays and lesbians were demonic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So and she talked all that religious stuff all the way through. She kept saying God this and creation this and God so and so. But I love you,
right?
But I love you both.
Okay.
You know, and I love, you know, whatever. But you know, you're demonic and stuff. So you know, they still see us no matter what you put out there, what you say or whatever. It's just like the comments and stuff. You know, we can say, don't call us this then. Don't call us that.
Right.
They're still going to call us that and do it with, you know, when it favors them.
Right.
You know? Right. So, you know, but basically that's about all I have. Do you have, what's your, you know, you have any like,
so my final
thoughts?
Yeah, my final thoughts on this, and I'll just kind of read what I have. It's just that I would think that trans people are often marginalized, they're excluded, and they're treated as if they don't belong. And I think that some people may not understand or accept transgender individuals, and this can lead to discrimination, violence, and erase to be erased. This kind of treatment is rooted in deeper social issues, a lack of understanding and acceptance of diversity. And to me, especially when it comes from the Black people, I don't see why there's so much when, you know, even as Black people, we've come so far and we have to, we have so many obstacles to overcome. And then we put this right back on, even though this is not something you may agree with or whatever, it's still harming people. Just like we were harmed for so many years with the slavery and discrimination or whatever. We're just putting it on ourselves again. Like you say, most of this is coming from Black women or whatever. But transgender people are not aliens or other. They're human beings who deserve the same rights, dignity, and respect as anyone else. The existence of transgender people is not a threat or a problem to be solved. Rather, it's an opportunity to learn, grow, and become a more inclusive and compassionate society. We need to work towards creating a world where transgender people are valued, they're respected, and they're recognized as equal members of society. But this is going to require education, empathy, and advocacy. So let's strive to create a world where everyone can live their truth without fear of discrimination or marginalization. Transgender people are not aliens. They are our neighbors, our friends, our family members, and fellow human beings.
And I lied. I got two quick questions here that I want to get through real quick, and then we'll sign off here. Do you think it's offensive to ask binary trans people what their pronouns are? You don't think it's offensive to? Okay.
Only because I want to be respectful, and I don't think anyone would shun away you trying to be respectful to them. Because if you're binary, I may not know which way, you may want to go, I guess.
Well, with binary, they know what
right.
they know. They know
I'm
they're
thinking
trans
about
women or trans men.
I'm thinking about
non-binary.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Is it offensive to ask binary trans whatever pronouns are?
Instead of just saying,
whatever they're
saying,
presenting.
just saying, just represent them if they're a trans man. You just say,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to ask them. You just say you're, him.
Right.
If it's a trans woman,
Mhm.
you just say her.
Right.
You don't have to say, well, what do you want to be called? Her, him, her, him,
Right.
or her, her, his, hers, or something,
Right.
like that, whatever, or them, they, whatever. It can be.
Because for you to even ask them that, it must be something that you see that doesn't go with what you think of female
or you're trying to be cat.
Or you're trying
to be, you're trying to be messy.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And then what about intersex people? When should intersex people disclose, or should they? We already talked about that, though.
Mm-hmm.
Should, because they have both. Some of them have both sexes or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Should they disclose at all? Should they, as soon as when they meet somebody, should they say I'm intersex? Or that I have both sexes? Should they say that or not?
Who does that? That's so crazy.
Right.
You don't even know, because whatever. I mean, hopefully they have clothes on when you see them. So how would you even know that they're intersex? So I mean,
And then the next one is, it says, do heterosexual men and women have trans-dar? Like how we say, how we say we got gaydar and stuff. Like we could just, we know when somebody's down low, bisexual, gay, or whatever, or trans, or whatever. But then, I've been hearing lately where, like men say, a lot of straight men say they can't. A lot of times they can't tell whether a person is a trans, like that's a trans woman or a trans man.
Mm-hmm.
Except for the ones who can tell, or say that they do. But they say that they can't tell. But I hear women quite a bit say they can tell that that's a trans woman. I mean that's a man and not a woman. I hear them, and so I'm assuming that I don't know if that's an actual word out there. I didn't look up to see if there's anything called transdar, but it just popped into my head when I was putting all these questions and stuff together. Do women think that they have transdar, just like we say we have gaydar, where they can tell that that's a man and not a woman?
I think everybody can miss it, just like we can miss it. I mean, we could say this person is gay and it be, not the case or whatever. I think that because of the news that we have seen that men, mostly men, and I guess women too, have made the mistake and assumed somebody was, like we said, like, the Miss Nettles, that you come off as a masculine looking woman or whatever, and then you fight them. Like the video that and that's I'm pretty sure there's more than just that one, but there's videos where guys have beat up women because they assumed that they were trans and killed them. Right. So I don't think, like I said, everybody can miss. I think, but to the gaydar thing, I think women may have a better transdar than men, only because women are always around women, and it's something kind of like our gaydar. to me, I think the only reason why we kind of have the gaydar is because we're around gay people. We kind of know character, but like I said, anybody can miss. If I see a guy that's kind of gives me the same kind of vibes as you, my gay friend, my gaydar is probably gonna go off. So I think that women, because they've been around women, probably, their whole life, they can kind of sense a difference there somewhere.
Mhm.
So I think they probably do have a trans dar, but I think at the same time they can miss it as well, because it could just be a woman with a whole lot of makeup. Some women they cake it on, just like a transsexual may cake it on, like that high whatever, or So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I thought that was just kind of interesting to me, because I've heard some women say that they can tell when that somebody's a man, no matter whether they had the whole full SRS surgery, or whatever, and they just look, they exude femininity and stuff or whatever. They'll still say that, some of them still say they can tell that that's a man and not a woman or something. But anyway, everybody, thanks for joining us today, and please like, share our videos, share this video, and subscribe to our channel. We really appreciate all of y'all, and
Leave comments.
leave comments.
We'll go back and look at it.
Yeah, but please subscribe. We're trying to get our numbers up here, and then share our content. I really appreciate everybody who was in today, and the people who are going to watch it, later.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll put our little. All right. Bye, everybody. Bye, world.
Bye, Dallas. Bye.
All right.